Welcome, everyone, to the February 24th conditional use hearing for the Butterscotch. Can we all rise and begin?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Jim has an announcement to make.
Okay, this room is rated for 63 people. There are 63 chairs or bench seats. So I would ask that the people who are standing, you need to be outside those double doors in the back. Sorry about that, but this is
Can we open the doors?
this is a fire code issue, and we want to make sure that people can get in and out safely.
And if anyone's a party, we want them in, right?
Yes, if anyone's a
Yes.
party, we need them in, and we'll figure out where we can.
But we can use the chairs to prop that. If you need some help, let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think without further ado, we can turn this over to Dave to start the hearing.
All right, good evening, everyone. The chairperson said this is a continuation of the hearing that we started back in August. A couple of housekeeping matters first before we start in with testimony. I have up here a sign-in sheet for anyone who wishes to be a party to this action. 10 people have already signed it at our first hearing. So if there's anyone here tonight that didn't sign it, I don't need you to sign it twice, that does have, but wishes to be a party, I need you to come up and enter your name.
Well, do you need to be within that radius to be a party?
I'll talk to you.
Okay. Yeah.
I can explain that. Go on the next page. There's more on the back there. David.
Or does that mean if you want to speak in their behalf, you have to sign that paper?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
that's not necessary.
I don't know what they mean by party.
It would mean that you would have a right to compete.
No, this is only a hearing on Butterscotch. Yes, there is nothing, no. No. We have one item on the agenda, that's it.
Here you go, the second page. All right, those that you just signed in. to be considered a party would give you an opportunity tonight, you're granted party status, give you the opportunity tonight to question the witnesses and present your own evidence if you wish. You also have appellate rights from the decision, okay? In order simply to speak for or against, you don't need to be a party. Okay, we'll have an opportunity for anyone who wishes to make a comment to do so separately from party status. So of those that just signed in, beginning with is Joe Sackos. I'm sorry, Zoe Sackos. Those signed in. And now that I explain what it means to be a party, is there anybody who wishes, of those that signed in, still wants to be a party? If you don't understand, I'll explain it. Yes,
I don't understand, like, if we just want to say something,
you don't have to be a party.
but you will get a chance to talk.
Yes,
Yes, Suzanne.
Yes.
You were.
and Roth, yes. All right. So again, of those that signed in, now that I explain what it means to be a party, do you all still wish to be a party? If not, we will not consider you a party. Carl, you're shaking your head. You wish to be a party?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So do you live within 500 feet?
Two properties are just outside that, but well within the affected area and meet all the criteria to be a party.
Do you have objections to Carl? What's your last name?
Rockwitz.
Rockwitz, living at 1286 Hollow Road. Do you have any
I have no
objection? Okay, you're accepted as a party. Again, if anyone else that just signed in, unless you say you want to be a party, we're not going to consider you being a party. Start with you. Zoe, you wish to be a party? Where do you live?
1381 Schoolhouse Lane.
Is that within 500 feet of the property? Okay, so we'll consider Zoe
Pecos.
Sakos will consider you a party, and what is your name?
Whitney Yeager.
Whitney, where do you live, Whitney?
36 Lone Spring,
And where is that in relationship to the applicant?
contiguous to. the parking lot.
So you're within 500 feet, okay. So you qualify to be a party. And that's Whitney Yeager, right? Okay, he's taken down. Anyone else? So, all right, I should have explained, if you can't see, we have a court reporter present, Mr. Cochran. Is going to try to take down as accurately as he can everything we say tonight, so helpful if only one person speaks at a time, and I will recognize everyone to speak, trust me, I will. So with that, I have a couple other matters of housekeeping as far as township exhibits. We have the proof of publication with the Pottstown Mercury for the October 7th meeting, hearing that was actually canceled, but I want to enter that nonetheless. That would be Township Exhibit B8. Proof of publication, and B9 will be a proof of publication for this hearing. And it was in the Pottstown Mercury, the ad on February the 13th and the 17th. That'll be B9. In the meantime, we received an amended conditional use application, a single page from the applicant, which we will mark as B10. Okay. Okay, so with that, on my review of the transcript, it appears we left off where Mr. Martin was going to have the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Sadik.
That's correct.
Is that correct? So are you
Yes.
prepared to proceed?
I'm prepared to proceed, but I think it might just be efficient if we could pre-mark some of the exhibits that are going to
Please.
come in today, not to admit them, just to pre-mark them. We had already marked A1 to A3. A4 is an exhibit of 9 parking photos,
So A4 has collectively 9 photos.
has 9 photos. That's
Okay.
A4 and it's parking. At the end of the hearing last time, you had asked if we could take some photos. I said we would take some photos. A4 is parking. A5 is daily photos covering the period August 25 to September 28.
Did you say daily photos
Daily.
of the parking area?
Do you want each day that's going to be covered on that?
I don't know that that's necessary.
I don't
What
know
do-
that it is.
What do they depict?
They depict the inside and the outside in terms of how many people are inside, how many cars are outside.
Okay, and the dates are August 5th through
August 25th to
25.
September 28th.
How many pictures are there?
You want to go through the whole list? August 25 is 7 photos. September 1 is 4 photos. September 7 is 11 photos. September 11 is 7 photos. September 13 is 7 photos. September 14 is 8 photos. September 15 is 10 photos. September 19 is 5 photos. September 21 is 6 photos. September 27 is 4 photos. September 28 is 9 photos.
Okay. Do you have any other exhibits?
I do.
Mark, go ahead.
A6 is the parking ordinance, the township's parking ordinance. A7 is the letters of support, which you indicated you have.
I don't have.
I don't either.
I will give them to you.
Yes.
Okay.
A8 is a parking diagram I'm not going to be putting in, so we can skip that. A9 is what I'm going to call the oblong photos. A10 is, you've already marked that as D10,
How many of the long photos are there?
9, I believe. It's how, you have a copy.
It
How
looks
many
like
are there?
there's 3. Is there- does
No, it
that
looks
sound
like there's
right?
3.
That sounds more accurate.
A10 is going to be the amended petition, which has already been.
It's already been in. And then A11 are 2 photos from each day, the period October 9 to December 11. And if you again want the exact dates, I could give them to you.
No, I just want to know the total of pictures that are contained in A11. That's it. Just want to make sure I have all the pictures.
Again, if you want, I can go through day by day.
I don't need that. I just want to know how many in total. I don't need to do that.
2, 4, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 29, 31, 33, 35, 37, 39, 41, 43, 45, 47, 49, 51, 53.
53 photos are part of A11.
Yes. And with that, I'd like to question Mr. Sladek.
Okay. Before we do that, just wanted to make mention that Charlene Briggs is here via phone.
Yeah, she can see us.
Oh, so
It's an iPad.
so
She
it's on
can see
iPad.
on
So video.
FaceTime.
You can hear us.
She's very sick, so
But
she
she's
doesn't want you to
sick.
see her.
She's participating via Facebook. Facebook?
It's FaceTime.
FaceTime. Okay.
Procedural question.
FaceTime.
Yes. FaceTime.
I just had a procedural question about, I did not get a look at that B9, that's the notice that was placed on February 13th and February 17th with respect to this evening's hearing.
You want to see it now?
Well, I didn't know, those notices, did they include the amended conditional use application relief he's asking for?
You can take a look at them yourself.
Did you, I guess the question is, did we receive the conditional use application amendment after those notices ran or before? I don't recall.
You can take a look at it. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, it's important. That's why I'm asking the question.
Oh, the amendment.
924.
4.
Oh, 4.
It can't be.
That doesn't make sense. It's originally filed. That's all.
Oh, yes, okay.
It's a fairly general, just as a conditional use application. It doesn't detail what actual,
It is what it is. I understand your point.
well, it's important for me that the record of the
You can make your point about the record any which way you want.
The amended conditional use application was filed April 24 of 24, of 25 rather. And, no,
The original was.
Original
April
the
24.
the original was filed April 24. That's correct.
Okay. All right, proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Sladik, do you remember you testified on August 19 in this matter?
Yes.
Okay, and at that time, you submitted a package of exhibits, which included a number of photographs.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
Do you have any other photographs that you took other than the ones that you've submitted, which show cars on your property?
To present it more?
No, do you have any other photographs other than the ones that you've submitted?
Sure, I do, yeah.
Okay, well, where are they? Huh?
On my computer.
Okay, so you have other photos, but you've chosen not to submit them?
Yes.
Okay. Would you take a look at the photos that were there under Exhibit S12?
These are the ones you just sent.
Parallel cars.
No, I don't know. These are the ones from the next.
Yeah, we don't have them. Well, you have them though, right?
There are 7 photos there,
Okay.
okay? If you look at number 7,
They have them.
you have that in front of you?
Exhibit 7 was in that packet.
Yeah, Exhibit S12, number 7,
Yes.
okay? You remember you testified that that photo showed the 7 workers who are working at the cafe?
Yes.
Remember that? Okay. Would you agree that one of those people there is Nui, the owner?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree that there's only 6 people in that photo?
Yes.
So there's only 5 employees there. Is that right?
There's 7 in the original photo. It looks like it was cropped.
Where's the original photo? This is the one you submitted.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And there's only 6 people in that,
Yes.
including the owner.
It's a snapshot. It's not a photo. It's a snapshot of a Facebook posting.
Okay. But it doesn't have 7 workers in it.
No,
Would you take
this
a
particular printout does not.
Would you take a look at photo number 3, exhibit number 3? And that's August 15 of 2020. Is that what the photo says?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the earliest photo you submitted, correct?
I don't.
And can we agree that in August of 2020, that we were in the middle of the COVID summer?
Yes.
And that's when they had the tent in the parking lot because of COVID.
Correct.
And that's when they started to do outdoor seating because of COVID.
Correct.
Would you take a look at photo number 2? That's May 14 of 2023.
Right.
Okay. Can we agree that that's Mother's Day? The second Sunday in May?
Could be. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
Your Honor, can we take judicial notice of the fact that May 14 was the second Sunday in May and was Mother's Day?
You need me to? Go ahead, I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up. I'll continue.
Which year?
20.
2024, 20.
Now, that shows where your property begins, correct?
My property it shows my property. It begins actually where the car that's parked perpendicular to the
Understand.
road, just to the left of that.
Okay.
So all those cars parked parallel to the street are on my property.
So there, it looks to me like there are 7 cars there, is that correct? Yes?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so those cars were on your on your property. Can you tell me, did you ask the people not to park there?
No.
Did you ask Francis if he would tell the people to please move their cars?
No.
Did you ask the township to try to move their cars?
No.
Did you put up any signs after that to say, please don't park here? Did you do anything to have the people not park on your property,
I contacted the township.
but not Francis to ask him?
No. Actually, I don't know if you count this as the same thing, but Newey had asked my wife if we were okay with live music prior to this. And what her concerns were, and my wife said, where are people gonna park? And Newey said, we'll put up no parking sign. Which were never put up.
On May 14, you did not contact Newey or Francis to ask them to please
Correct,
tell
I
these
did not
people to move the
contact-
cars.
Correct.
Would you take a look at photo number 1? That's October 8 of 2023.
I'm looking at it.
It, no, it says on the photo, it says on the exhibit.
I'm sorry, which question?
Is the date of that photo October 8, like it says?
Yes,
Okay. And can we agree again that that was a Sunday?
I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Okay.
I'll take your word.
And it looks that there's maybe 6 cars there in that photo that are on your property?
Count 8.
Well, we'll let the photo speak for itself. Again, at that time, did you ask any of the people to not park on your property?
I don't recall. I do recall one of the dates, people asking me if it was okay to park there, and me saying, no, it's not okay to park there.
And then they parked there
And they parked
anyway.
there anyway.
Did you call Francis or Newey and say, people are parking on my property, could you please ask them to move?
No.
Did you put up a sign that said, please don't park here?
No.
At any time, you've had 2 pictures of 2 dates where people parked on your property. At any time, did you go to Ludwig's hardware store and buy a sign that said no parking here?
No.
Did you do anything to tell people not to park on the side of the road there?
Other than when people ask, no.
And at no time you asked Francis or Newey to make sure that people don't park there.
Other than Newey talking to my wife, no.
But you did complain to the township.
Correct.
While you're taking a break, second Sunday in May is the 14th.
Yes.
That's Mother's Day, then we'll take
Second
that.
Sunday in May.
Sunday, okay. In 2023.
Photo number 4. That's a picture taken June 28 of 24?
Correct.
Can we agree that all of the cars that are pictured there are on Francis's property?
No,
Which car is not on Francis's property?
the van and the car that's in front of it.
You'll testify to that. And photo number 5. There's a car there. Can we agree that that car is on Francis's property?
Yes,
Okay.
and township property in the street.
So you started taking photos on August 15th of 2020. Is that right?
Yes, about that.
And you have photos of 2 days in the period from August of 2020 to now where there are cars parked on your property. Is that right?
Yeah.
You have no other evidence of any cars in any other day parked on your property,
I do.
but you didn't bring it.
No.
When you testified on August 19, you complained that horses were dropping horse manure on the road. Do you blame Butterscotch Cafe for the horse poop on the road?
Yes.
You blame
There is
Butterscotch.
something- yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. You also complained about the music that was played
Yes.
at that. How many times did they have music?
I want to say 4 times. They had
Four-
4 concerts.
4 times, and that
Yes,
would be in the course of 4 years?
No, it was in the course of 1 year,
4 times in 1
Yeah,
year.
it's
What year
2000.
was that?
2023.
2023. So there wasn't any in 2024?
No,
Okay. And what was the nature of that music? Was it Donna and Dave singing? Can we agree on that?
I don't,
It wasn't Donna and Dave?
I don't know.
Okay. Was it like a folk singer and a guitar?
I believe so, yeah.
And would you agree that it was pretty mellow and people were just hanging around listening to music?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't, no.
Okay. Did you do anything to interfere with them listening to the music? You also mentioned that there's Christmas caroling that's going on at Butterscotch and also at the Bertrandville Store Cafe. Hasn't that been something that's been going on in the township for decades?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's great.
And Francis and Newey really have nothing to do with the people who choose to do Christmas caroling.
I did not complain about that.
Okay, good.
I think it's wonderful.
So you're not complaining about that music?
Never have. It's not
Um,
music, it was caroling. It was the
when-
amplified music.
When French and Pickering did the Iron Tour bike ride, did you have a confrontation with the Iron Tour people?
I didn't have a confrontation. I had some problems with them spray painting the streets, yes.
So you had a problem with them telling where the bicycles should go on the bicycle tour?
No, I had a problem with them spray painting the streets.
Okay,
And
and
we resolved it. They no longer paint our streets.
and at no time you complained to Francis and Newey about the parking?
No.
I don't have any other questions.
Can you redirect?
Thank you. You were asked some questions about the photos that we submitted as part of our exhibits. Did I direct you to select, just a few photos that show the traffic, and I directed you not to bring all the photos you had? Is that accurate?
Yes,
So if I asked you to bring in more pictures of different days where parking was in violation, would you be able to do that?
yes,
So there's been parking issues on the property well in excess of the few photographs we've brought before the board. Is that correct?
correct. And I didn't always take photos.
In your opinion, is it your responsibility to put up no parking signs on your property or to regulate parking on township or state roads?
No,
In your opinion, as a resident who owns a lovely historic home in this township, is it your responsibility to walk out and ask people not to park on your yard?
no,
So you don't regularly sit outside your house trying to control the parking along your street, is that correct?
correct.
And have you though, over the years, asked the township to assist you with the parking issues along the road?
Yes. And in fact, I'd like to change my answer, just when you asked me, did I do anything to put up signs or ask people not to park there? The sign in Exhibit 5, no parking, temporary police order, I put that up. So the answer to that question is yes.
And you asked the township to address the parking issues because it's your opinion that they're in charge of the road and have the ability to regulate parking.
Yes. My biggest concern was safety because it turned the 2-lane road into a two-way 1-lane road. And I was witnessing near miss head-on collision on Hollow. That was my concern.
Is it your testimony that you had no problem with the Christmas caroling, but the amplification or having concerts on the property are of concern to you?
Yes.
Correct?
There were 2 different events. Caroling is one for here. I've never complained about the caroling. It's great. It's the live concert of amplified music that I have wrong.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, anyone, go ahead.
Very brief.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Sladig, what you're saying is you have lots of evidence of people parking on your property, but you've chosen not to submit it other than those two days.
Wouldn't say about this, but I have.
And that sign that you referred to in number 5, that was a township sign
Correct.
that they let you loan temporarily.
The police chief loaned it to me, correct?
You never got any signs of your own that you put up?
No.
No further questions.
Thank you. Now, anyone who's been accepted as a party, now is your opportunity to ask this witness any questions that you may have. So is there anyone here that would like to ask Mr. Sladik a question about his testimony? I see no hands raised. Okay, thank you. Now, do you have any other witnesses? Because we were on the cross of your witness before we did.
No, I likely have more questions of Mr. Sladek once he puts on his case.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Other witnesses?
I do. Next, I would like to call Newey.
Yes, I do.
Can you spell Nui?
NUI,
N-U-I.
yes.
And Newey, we all know you as Newey, but what is your given name? And are you the applicant who's listed on the conditional use
It's Lutera Pascal.
as spelled?
You want to spell
on-
it?
I gave that to you.
As,
But, oh, I knew that anyway.
and you're married to Francis,
Yes,
and the two of you have both the Bertrandville Store Cafe and Butterscotch, is that correct?
yes,
And who primarily runs Butterscotch?
me.
And what days is Butterscotch open?
Wednesday to Sunday,
And of those days, which are the busiest days?
Sunday, Saturday, Sunday,
Okay, and what are the busiest times during the day?
midday. Yes,
Now, after the October 7th hearing, which didn't happen, did I ask you to take photo every day? One of the outside showing outside seating and one of the back room showing the inside seating?
yes,
And did you do that for almost every day?
almost, yes.
And is the list of dates, and maybe we can make a copy of this, the dates that you took those photos as set forth in photo exhibit A11?
Yes,
Yes. And A11 has the dates on all of the photos?
yes,
And are there any dates that you took photos, but you they're not included in this list. In other words, you're not hiding any photos,
No.
are you? And are these photos in exhibit A11 accurate and show what it looked like outside and what it looked like in the back room inside at the same time on each and every one of these dates?
Yes.
And what is obvious to you from these photos?
So if it's a nice day out, people sitting outside and not sitting inside. If it's not nice day, they sit inside, they don't sit outside.
Are there ever any times when it's full outside and it's full inside?
No,
What is your best estimate of the maximum number of people inside and outside at any one time?
be about 50 to 60 people.
Now, the amended conditional use application, which we filed in this case, asked to provide for a takeout service, since that wasn't provided for in the original conditional use. Do you find that your customers want to do some takeout?
Yes,
And would you like to have permission to allow them to take
yes,
food out
please.
of your establishment? I don't have any other questions.
Betsy?
Thank you. Mrs. Pasquale, how many seats do you currently have in the interior of the Butterscotch Cafe?
Inside, okay. The first room is 14, the back room is 42. 56 inside.
And are 56 seats what you're asking to have moving forward, or is that what you currently have?
Currently have.
What are you seeking to have in the interior of the building as part of this application?
That's all I want. 56.
Still 56. And how many seats do you have in the Birchmanville Cafe?
40.
And how many seats are located outdoor on the property?
Right now, we get rid of a lot of outside seating, so I'm not.
Right now,
We get rid of a lot of a picnic table because it go bad. Yes,
okay.
yes. So I'm not exact sure, but before it was 58
Do you know how many outdoor seating spots you're
outside.
seeking as part of this application?
I'm sorry, say that
Do you
again.
know how many outdoor seating spots you're seeking as part of this application?
I would love to have the same 58.
Any further?
All right, anyone who's a party wish to ask Nui any question? Okay, there's someone there? No, just a hand up, ask a question? Is he a party?
No, he's my next week.
Oh,
He was
okay,
that
that's
back
all
there.
right, that's all right. All right, I don't see any hands when wishing to ask a question. I have a couple of questions, sorry. Zoe, do you have questions?
Yeah, just a question. If there's that many people inside and outside, where is all the parking? How many parking spots are we saying that they have? That people can park? There's like 100 and some people at the restaurant.
Well,
We've
There-
testified
there-
to that and we
yeah.
continue to.
There was testimony at the last hearing, first hearing about the parking that's available on the site. So.
And there will be more testimony on that.
Okay, so this witness doesn't have that information, but apparently he's gonna have another witness that'll answer your question. Okay. I have some questions about the takeout. So are you doing any takeout now from the cafe?
Yes.
And what percentage of people take out versus sit down to eat their food?
I would almost think it's like 40% takeout.
And is that, regardless of the weather, whether it's nice out or not so nice out?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you. All right, you have another witness?
Yes, Ryan Todd.
I'm sorry, I had some follow-up questions.
Go ahead.
Yes.
How long have you been, doing the takeout service at the restaurant? Right, the Butterscotch Cafe?
Maybe, since we open,
What year was that?
17.
And you talked about earlier about having a maximum of 50 to 60 people on the property at a time. But 40% of that, is that, there's also another 40% of people that are getting takeout?
Correct.
I'm assuming takeout they come in and out, correct?
Correct.
But they still have to park their vehicles at your property, correct?
But they in and out. Yes, that's correct.
Do you have any idea approximately a day, how many takeout orders you might get?
No,
No.
no. Because each day are different.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tomorrow,
Ryan Todd, my next witness.
Mr. Todd, want to come up? Have a chair for him?
I think we do have a podium over here.
If you want to stand over by the podium, maybe it might help you.
Yeah.
That's working right. Should be a mic that's lit.
Yeah, Mr. Todd, you swear the testimony you give no.
Yes, sir.
You say it's Ryan Todd?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Ryan, you have a business that's close to Bertrandville Store Cafe?
Correct.
And is that your certified public accounting business?
Correct. Yes.
And did you write a letter, which we had been marked as A2, offering parking at your property for Butterscotch when they need overflow?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And that was objected to on the grounds of hearsay. So I'm going to show you that letter and ask you, is that the letter that you sent?
Yes, this is it.
And is that true?
Yes. I offered Butterscotch and Bertrandville Cafe parking whenever they want, just trying to be a good neighbor. It's the only other business in town. So
Good. And how many spots do you have just on your property?
on my property, I mean, they're not marked spaces, but I walked it today. I would estimate in the 20 range.
And in addition to your property, there's also some township property at the park there,
Correct. Yes.
but you're not including those
Not including
spaces.
those now.
Just your spaces, you have around 20 spaces.
Yeah, I would estimate that. Yeah.
And when Butterscotch is in need of overflow, those spaces are available to them.
Correct. Yes.
And as a certified public accountant, how much does your business use the parking lot on Saturday and Sunday?
I'm the only one there on Saturday and Sunday, and then sometimes local like bikers and stuff will park there because they don't want to park in the upper parking lot because it's not paved, which I've let them do that as well.
So you let the people for the public parking lot park on your property?
Yeah.
So all of those other spots then are available?
Correct. Yeah.
I have no further questions. I would ask, however, that A2 now be admitted.
Okay, well, you can make that motion at the end, but do you have any questions? No, no objection. Okay, it's submitted without objection. Go ahead.
Some follow-up questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Todd, correct?
Correct. Yes.
The 20 spaces, did you say are they marked or unmarked?
Unmarked.
And then during the week, how many spaces are used by you, your employees, anybody who's visiting your business?
So it's myself, I have 2 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee, and then people will drop off tax returns. Usually from January to April 15th, we'll have people in and out dropping off tax returns. Outside of those months, there's hardly any clients stopping by.
Currently, are there customers from Butterscotch Cafe that are using your parking lot?
It's hard for me to know because I'll go in on Saturdays and Sundays and I'll see people using their bikes. And then there's also other cars there. I assume are bikers, but it could be Butterscotch as well.
Entered into any kind of parking agreement with the Birchmannville Cafe or the Butterscotch Cafe?
Just with that letter and a handshake because they're good friends.
And you don't have any concerns with respect to basically opening up your parking lot to visitors that are coming to different properties, to park on your property as far as legal liability?
No, I've always been okay with it, especially with like township people who want to, or anybody coming to the park to go for a walk or for a bike ride or anything.
I'm not familiar with that roadway. How is there any sidewalk that goes from your parking lot down to restaurants?
No, just like grass on both sides.
Grass on both sides.
Grass on both sides, yeah.
Do you have any idea how it's going to be communicated to customers at either Birchmannville Cafe or Butterscotch Cafe that they should go up to park at your lot?
I told Nui and Francis that they can communicate that to them, and if they want to put up a sign or anything, they can. I'm totally okay with that. I'm not sure if they've done that or not.
Fine, no question.
Thank you, Ryan.
Redirect.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Anyone who's a party?
Quick
Yes.
question, Ryan, would you have an issue with in a parking agreement with the parcels, not that they would be recorded against your parcel on your deed for the parking agreements, and it wouldn't be with the owners, it would be with these parcels, since conditional uses go with the parcels, not with the owners. So would you agree and be willing to be encumbered by that as long as these businesses are in action or alive in perpetuity?
Yes, absolutely.
That was Mr. Brackwich that asked that question. Anyone else who's a party? Okay, what's your question? Your name?
My name is Sue Krug. I'm just curious on the people that ride bicycles that park at Ryan Todd's Leave on a bicycle. Are you expecting the people that walk to all walk down the road with children and dogs and whatever they come with? They're all gonna just walk down the one-way road and all the way down to the corner and around?
I mean, I walk down all the time, so
I walk too.
yeah, I know. I see you. Yeah.
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 Thank you. We have another, so are you a party?
I am.
Go ahead.
Whitney Yeager. So as I'm looking at the BB district and it says 390-47 purpose on 4, it is saying establish viable network of greenway land areas and complement the land use pattern.
Just speak a little louder.
You want to read, come up with it.
Yeah.
Is this a question of this
Well,
witness?
yes, because what they're asking is if they can walk this, and it is actually the BV code to be able to walk
But what's a B what?
Birchmannville Village.
Oh, BV.
Code to actually be able to walk in this area section. So that's the idea of it to be greenway with pedestrian access.
Okay, is there a question for the?
Well, do you agree with, we've walked it, I've walked
Yeah.
it with a horse or a dog, so I'm asking, do you feel safe walking that road down to the cafe?
Yeah, I walk with my daughter all the time, so
Me too.
absolutely.
So I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who's a party have a question for this witness?
I do. What
Okay.
is the speed limit there? Do you know what the speed limit is right there?
I think it's 25 or 35. I'm not sure.
Do you have her name? Sue Cruz?
That's good.
Yeah, okay. All right, anyone else have a question of this witness? Seeing none? Okay. You can be excused.
Thank
you. Mr. Martin, you have any other witnesses?
Yes, I'm gonna call Francis.
Okay. Mr. Pascal, you've already been sworn in previously. Go ahead.
Francis, as you know, you testified before, and the issue in the case is seating and parking. That's an important issue. And that's why we've taken all these photos. Now, the exhibit A11, which Nui testified to, who took those photos?
I took these photos.
Okay, and how about A4, these parking photos?
I did take this photo too.
Okay, and this series of photos that we've marked as A5, the daily ones, did you take these?
Yes.
No.
Partially, yes.
Yes.
And what do these photos, well, first of all, let's talk about the parking. What do the parking photos show in terms of seating at the parking lot outside of Butterscotch?
Mhm.
How much, what is the seating there on both sides?
It's 10 parking on each side,
So that's
total
20.
20, correct? 10.
And then at your Bertrandville Store Cafe on the side parking, how many spaces are there?
We have 12 parking space,
And that's indicated in the photo.
correct?
And then the barn side of the road parking where your employees park.
A total of 8 parking. Yes, 8.
And then the additional spots that you added along the road next to the seating, how many spots are there?
6.
And you already heard Mr. Todd testify that the seating up at his place, which is also included in the photograph here, he says that's 20 spots, is that correct?
Correct.
So all those spots are available to you.
Yes.
With reference to the photos, and again, I'll refer to A11. What do they show in terms of when people are sitting inside and when people are sitting outside?
Well, if the weather permits and it's a beautiful day, everybody sits outside and nobody sits inside, very rarely, or few people. If it rains, nobody sits outside, but people have tendency to sit inside.
And the oblong photos, the A9 photos, did you also take them?
Yes, I did.
And they're further evidence of the parking situation.
Correct.
You heard testimony about the music that you had there. Can you tell me who you have had at the Butterscotch Cafe that did music?
Dave and Donna,
Dave and Donna. And how many times did they have music at your place?
twice only,
You remember that you have the dates written down there?
of course. July 10, 2022, and October 18, 2023.
The once in 22, once in 23.
Yes.
And what was the music like? Was it a rock and roll band?
No, it was a folk music,
Folk music. Was it loud?
not loud. In fact, we request not to be too loud. Yes.
Mr. Slater testified that the horse poop that gets dropped on Hollow Road is because of all those people who come to your place on horseback. Would you say that most of the people who come on horse are going to your cafe, or are they going elsewhere?
No, they just work, they just, go around with the horse around the property and then other roads. Yes,
So it's not your customers that are dropping horse drops on the road?
no.
There also was some discussion at the last hearing about the sewage issues. Have you been in touch with the Chester County Health Department about what needs to be done for the sewage on your
Yes,
property?
we're in contact with the DEP and we actually conversing with each other and see, what we need to do to actually comply with the amount of people that we have.
And have you been doing everything that they've told you to do?
Yes,
Have there been any problems?
no problem at all.
If they tell you to do anything different, will you do what they ask you to do?
Of course.
Don't have any other questions.
Do you have questions of this witness?
I do.
Go ahead.
I guess the first question is, I want to follow up with a resident was asking the same question is, Mr. Pascal, how many total parking spaces are you providing for the Butterscotch Cafe?
In the back of Birchville, you have 12 parking space.
Well,
Correct.
No, for the Butterscotch Cafe, how many parking spaces are you providing?
How many parking spots do you have altogether? She's not asking how many you have over at the Bertrand Store Cafe. She's asking the whole two properties.
I'm
How many?
not asking that, because this application is for Butterscotch Cafe. So I'm asking, how many parking spaces are you specifically identifying to be assigned to the Butterscotch Cafe?
Objection in the form of the question. What do you mean assigned to the Butterscotch
That's a
Cafe?
confusing.
You're
Are they
asking-
available to the Butterscotch Cafe?
We know that there's shared parking here. So are you asking him to make a determination which are only on the Butterscotch Cafe property? Is that your question?
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
No, they operate at
Well,
different times.
I understand that. I understand your application. But she's asked a question, how many are only on the Butterscotch Cafe property?
12.
Well,
Assistant, right?
It's a little confused, like,
It's confusing. Is she talking about how many from the Bertrand Store Cafe
That's my
spaces are being used by Butterscotch? I think.
No, I
That's
think,
what I
I'd
understood the
be
question.
happy for you to clarify that. You can, however you want to clarify that.
I think the original question was on the Butterscotch Cafe property, how many spots are there?
Okay.
so Butterscotch Cafe has got 10 parking on each side of the parking, 10 each parking,
So
and
that would
then
be
you have
20?
20, that's correct.
Okay.
You have 6 parking along the road near the dumpster, and you have 8 parking near the barn.
Okay, so that is
And
20.
I'm sorry,
20
Birch of the Cafe 12 parking also.
46.
Okay, so 20 on, 10 on either side, that's 20, 8 by the barn, 6 by the dumpster.
Yeah.
All right, okay. And then 12 across the street at Bertrand Cafe.
That's correct.
Okay.
May I ask a question to clarify?
Not yet, not yet. Just let her finish it and we'll let you.
Mr. Pascal, do you recall, the zoning officer was here at the last hearing and she testified that she counted she counted 32 parking spaces that were being feasible on site. Do you recall that testimony?
That would be.
32 parking spaces that she counted being feasible on site. Do you recall that testimony?
I don't recall that.
Mr. Pascal, are you familiar with a section of the parking codes, section 930-136, that states that no parking lot or area for off-street parking shall butt directly on a public street or a highway? Are you familiar with that?
No,
The parking that you're proposing that's going to be along the street, have you communicated with the zoning officer whether or not those parking spaces are even allowed by the code of the township?
no,
So these are parking spaces that you yourself, a restaurant owner, have identified as being parking spots, correct?
yes, yes.
Have you engaged with any kind of traffic engineer or any kind of, even somebody in construction that can give you a map or a plan showing the parking on site?
No,
Going to move to, I'd given your attorney a exhibit packet at the first hearing, and S1 is the original conditional use opinion and order that you received. Can you refer to that, please?
That's the 2016 opinion,
Mhm.
June 6th. That's what she's referring to.
Okay,
On the final page, there's conditions. So you received conditional use approval, and there were certain conditions that the board of supervisors attached to your approval. And one of those listed as number 2 was a condition to paving the associated parking lot. Have you paved the parking lot?
I did not pay, but if the township supervisor asked me to do, I'd be happy to comply to that.
So if you were required to pave that parking lot and also line it appropriately for parking, you would?
Yes, if they ask me, yes.
Okay, and I'm looking at some of the pictures. It appears that there's the parking, the grass area that's between the picnic benches on your property and Mr. Sladek's property appears that there's some parking bumpers that have been installed in the grass. Is that correct?
Parking what?
Bumpers?
Yes.
When were those installed?
When did we do that? I don't have the date with me, I'm sorry.
Were they installed after our last hearing?
Yes,
Do you get any kind of authority from the township? to install
No.
parking bumpers?
no,
Are you aware that the township has adopted a special event ordinance?
no.
Or would it surprise you that there's a special event ordinance in place that if people want to have such things as a concert, they have to go actually get a permit to have a concert on their property?
I was not aware of it.
Would you, if you're going to have concerts, would you be willing to go through the same process as everybody else in the township's required to go through it to get approval?
Yes, I would.
You had talked about, you've been working with DEP. Typically when a property owner is working with DEP, they're also working with the township. So are you communicating with the township as far as getting whatever
Yes,
sewage approvals?
yes,
Do you have any documentation or anything?
Not
you've
with me.
submitted?
but the DEP person, Susan, I think is her name, or sent me a letter to me and also one to you guys. You should have received it.
We did get a letter.
Susan, do you give a name?
I just know the first name, Susan. I'm sorry, I don't have documentation with me at the moment.
And you'll do whatever is required to do to update your.
Absolutely.
facilities. One moment. Do you know, when you're applying for that additional sewer, how many seats you've included on that application as having in your restaurant?
But it's not for me to decide. I give my numbers to the DEP and they will decide, what's the requirement for them for us to be allowed to use either a septic the way it is now or all in tank. So we're in the process of actually finalize the complaints.
You understand there's a possibility that you may not be allowed to have all those seats if you can't actually provide sufficient sewer facilities.
Correct.
That's all the questions I have.
Marty, you have any?
A couple follow-up. Francis, when you put in the parking bumpers, was that in an effort to try to make it clearer where people should park?
Yes,
Was that an effort to try and resolve these issues?
that was exactly the point.
And with your sewage treatment, have they told you that everything you're doing right now is just fine?
At the moment, yes,
And you'll continue to do that and do whatever they ask you to do?
yes.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Brackwich, you had a question?
Yeah, a couple of questions. The applicant, I don't know the applicants. We've never actually had discussions. This isn't about them personally. My concerns are the uses on the parcels because they will go beyond the current owners likely. So this is all big picture questions. The applicant, when you made your first application for a conditional use, 9 years ago or so. You had hired an architect, Carnival, out of Phoenixville, I believe.
Correct.
So you were aware that you had standards to meet, there were zoning rules you had to comply with or ask relief from at the time, and the parking lot was the parking, the seating, all of the regulations that are contained in the zoning ordinance, the building code for the township and the state, where you were made aware that they existed. You were aware that those things are common. So you hired a professional to do that for you.
Correct.
At that time, that conditional use, they did not discuss the seating limitations that you were granted in the conditional use. You were granted a number of seats in the restaurant, I believe.
Yes.
In the Butterscotch, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And the parking, were there a number of spaces laid out in that conditional use? Were you given guidance as to what you could do?
Yes.
Okay. One of those things was handicap parking, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever been in discussions with anyone about the requirements for handicap parking?
No, but we put a sign for the handicap parking.
When you got that sign and put it where it is, did you receive guidance on how to do that? What it should be, what the standards are?
No,
Okay. You never thought to ask anyone for that?
that's correct.
Okay. The parking that you have on Flowing Springs Road, you've testified that there's 8 spaces on Flowing Springs. I'm imagining that you are referring to the gravel area in front of your barn and then the area that you've since added along the road. Is that? And then
Yes.
in the grass also above the barn?
Yes.
That's okay. So the gravel in front of your barn was a driveway that was there for the barn, since the barn was built, I assume,
Yes.
in some form. The area between the barn and the back of the store building, the back of the Butterscotch building, that area you improved at some point. You put 6x6 treated lumber and then stone there for a parking space in the last several years?
Yes.
Okay. Did you apply for or receive a permit from the state of Pennsylvania for parking along the road or in any way improving along the road, an access point along the road?
No.
Okay. The parking in the improved or gravel parking lot that you currently use for the Butterscotch, on the other side of the fenced-in dumpster area, you have a grass area that you've used for parking. Is that in any way improved, or is that strictly dirt and grass?
Dirt and grass.
Okay, so it's susceptible to it turning into mud when it's wet or freeze thaw and so on.
Yes.
So it's an unreliable parking area, not particularly safe. Would that be correct?
No, because we have rained, we actually put a sign not to park there.
Okay, the surface, if you were to go there now and look at it, would it be a frozen muddy surface, not a smooth grass surface?
Yeah.
In other words, would it be obvious cars have had problems there for a while getting in and out when it's not ideal?
Yes, I guess, yes.
Okay, so what I'm getting to here is trying to confirm that the actual spaces that are available today are only in the gravel area that is between your cafe entrance and the dumpster, that square parking area that's partially paved. That's the only parking lot that has existed prior to you owning the property.
Correct.
Okay, so you have not done anything officially to expand or improve any of that since you've owned the property?
Correct.
Okay. There's been testimony made that you own both parcels, you and your wife own both parcels. That's not a record. You operate the businesses as individual businesses or as one is a division of the other?
I own the Birchonville Cafe.
Okay.
She's not.
Does the cafe?
You say you're answering that, I didn't quite get it.
I am the owner of the Birchonville Cafe.
These are corporations or LLCs?
S corporation.
Okay, so does the S corp that owns the Birchwoodville Cafe, does that own the Butterscotch?
No,
They're separate corporation?
correct.
And they're
You
owned
have
by
an
both?
objection on the grounds of relevance?
No, it's very relevant. If you allow, I will absolutely demonstrate in a moment. It should be obvious, I believe, to council.
I'll let him ask the questions. Go ahead.
These parcels you've requested everyone to consider the uses together, the parking, joined or shared parking, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you were to sell the Butterscotch Cafe, how would you then assign the parking that's at the Birchwoodville Cafe to the new owner if they wanted to then expand their business, or just keep what they have? Or let's say you sell the Birchwoodville Store Cafe, the restaurant, and you keep the Butterscotch. What are they gonna do for parking at night? What I'm driving at is, these should be one application for both parcels, because this is very complicated to then try to deal with this at a later date, because at some point, ownership will change. And that's the land use and zoning must assume that, not assume that you will own it, because we're not allowed by law to have a sunset on the agreement. So what I'm trying to ascertain is, have you considered that? And are you willing to enter formal agreements very specifically that will address all of these concerns, so that when you sell one, the other one can continue? It would be very difficult to do that. I say almost impossible.
Unless there's a contract.
No, this would be recorded with the deed now before there was a sale, so that when an eventuality
Your
comes
Honor, I
along,
renew my objection on the
Let-
grounds
let-
of relevance.
I'm gonna let him ask.
completely irrelevant, because
Go
this
ahead.
is how we deal with things.
Ask your
Isn't it?
question.
Isn't this? When you expanded the deck on the back of the store, you had stated that you weren't going to have outdoor dining then on the deck, that wasn't available for the patrons of the store. Correct.
It's always been people see that side
Okay.
since the beginning of the time.
When you were in front of the historic commission, had you not informed them that it wasn't for that?
No,
It
I
was
didn't.
for your use only?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, you made testimony at the historic commission that was in fact not for the public use. When you got the expanded use for the deck, didn't you have a process where you had to go in front of the historic commission to get approval for the alteration of the store? Did you have the
Yes.
process?
Yep.
You were partway through that process, and then you were granted a permit by the township manager, zoning officer, the staff. When you did that, did you not understand the process? You were fully aware that there was a township process, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is, the applicant is fully aware that there was a zoning ordinance. There was a historic commission process that was shorted, was never complied with. The parking has never been complied with.
It's your chance to ask questions.
I know, but I'm trying to point out here that there's no question, so the board understands why this question. There is no compliance with what they've stated. That's what I'm
Allow
trying
me
to
to ask
ascertain.
questions. If you
Thank
want
you.
to testify,
I will stop here.
Wants to testify, he can
I'll
testify.
have that
but
opportunity. I
This is
agree.
not a question.
I agree. I agree.
I'm at this point finished. Thank you.
Finished. Thank you. Okay. Do you have any redirect relative to that?
Very briefly. Francis, you talked about the 6 spots that are on the side.
Yes.
They get muddy on occasion. If the supervisors tell you you're gonna have to gravel that so that it's more stable, will you do whatever they ask you to do?
Yes.
Further question.
Okay. Now, does anyone else have any questions of this witness? Seeing none. All right. Have any other witnesses?
I do, one more. Dave Weber?
Mr. Weber. He's right here. Okay. Can you come up? Can you stand up here?
You swear the testimony is going to be truthful, truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Weber, 1B, 2B.
1B.
Thank you.
Dave, are you the Dave of Donna and Dave?
I am.
And were you one of the 2 people who did music at Birchwoodville?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How many times did you do that?
I have two.
The same dates that Francis gave, July 10 of 22 and October 8 of 23?
Correct.
So you didn't go there 4 times in 2023 as Mr. Slater?
Not to my aware.
And tell us about the music that you and Donna do.
We're a duo. I play acoustic guitar. She plays an acoustic mandolin. They are amplified. We go through a small personal amplification system. It's made by Bose. It's designed to give a lot of sound in a small area. I don't like loud music myself, to tell you the truth. So I try to keep it, after years and years of performing, correct for the space.
And is that what you did the 2 occasions that you played at?
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
You remember the time of day and?
We
what
played
the
from
event was
11
like?
to 1.
And how would you describe the general atmosphere there? Was it a party scene?
It was really pleasant. It was heartwarming. I mean, local people coming out with their kids and their dogs and listening to music, having some coffee and some pastries. And it was a very community building kind of experience. And we enjoyed it very much, and we enjoy working with Nui and Chris.
Do you remember anything happening during one of those occasions that was unusual?
The last time we played there, toward the end of the 2 hours, I believe the complainant is the one who fired up his riding mower.
When you say the complaining, in Mr. Slater?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Had a writing note?
It was a little
Fired up.
Oh, fired it up.
And then what happened?
and he left it on. It was very loud, and it was as loud as we were, as far as I was concerned. And loudness is a very subjective thing. So nobody could really hear us.
But you could hear him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Do you have any questions, this witness?
Mr. Weber, do you sometimes play your music indoors?
Oh, yeah.
So would you agree that when you play your music outdoors, it might carry a bit of distance more so than if you were indoors?
Necessarily, yes.
Anyone who's a party have any questions of this witness? Once, going twice, seeing none, okay. Any follow-up? We're good?
No.
Okay, excuse, thank you, Mr. Weber.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
No other witnesses. I do want to move my exhibits.
Okay, I need copies of all those new exhibits.
There were 3 copies, one for.
Okay, as long as they're here, I need one
Yeah.
for myself. so-
Yeah, I will make,
We have copies for you.
Mark, Gone through all the exhibits.
Okay,
So
why don't we?
There's all the photos.
there's the envelope photos. This is 9. This is 4. This is 5.
So.
Francis has discussed A4, A5.
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
All your photos, this is conditional use. Now, this is not dated, which
I have,
our issue is. Okay,
This is parking.
parking. stand. And there was also one here, I think the new.
Yeah, the new,
Right, we just, put-
yeah, but he
knows that,
knows that. He has it.
he wrote it.
Yes.
so when you say he hasn't identified
I
all
don't
the,
think you identified A or A9.
Yes, A9 was the oblong photograph.
You just can't say there are exhibits. You have had like either witness, they've got to talk about them, they've got.
I asked him if he took the photos, if they accurately identify the parking spots
You
as
actually-
indicated.
You actually didn't do all that, but
Do you want me to do it again?
I would want you to do it for the first time for the record. Or I'll object to the evidence, either way.
Your Honor, if you hand me the exhibits, I'll ask them again.
You need these 3, is that what you?
oh, well, I recall Pascal testified that he took A9, but I'm not sure if he,
And I asked
let's
him,
have him describe them.
yes.
What's depicted? Is there any other, Benzie, is there any? other-
Francis, would you tell us what they show? Spots,
It shows the parking spot across the Butterscotch pastry shop, correct?
and they're similar to the other photographs, but these are a little bit longer, so they show the. pictures
Yes, they
better.
are long because that was the first original picture they taken. And we decided they were too long.
Have you altered the photos in any way?
No, of course
Are
not.
they accurate?
Yes.
I would move the exhibit, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll get to all of them. So we've got A9. A11.
And 11 were the ones that Billy testified.
Right, okay. And then you have A4 photographs
Ones
and
five are down.
and A5 the Dell. Okay. Are there any others that you don't think you identified? No. Okay. No?
No more.
These might be the same ones in color. Do you want the color ones for you?
Yeah, I'll get them after you. Okay.
I swap them out.
All right, well, we're not concluded yet. You can move at the end. Hold on one second. You have any other witnesses? Okay,
I recall Mr. Stein.
okay, and I'll let you move exhibits at the end. All right, Mr. Brackett, you have a question?
Question about exhibits. Did the applicant present an engineered or professionally drawn plan
No,
regarding any of this?
no.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Mr. Slavic?
Oh, no.
And hand up. Council. What I've marked as A13, I didn't feel, well, I marked it now, I didn't know I was gonna use it. So, what this is, it's entitled Summary about, Continuing Violations and Outstanding
Do you want to
Issues.
burn?
No.
We have it marked as A13. Essentially, it's a summary of the current violations that are outstanding upon the property, as well as documentation, Mr. Sladek. And, it might take the board a while to absorb this. I'm not asking you to absorb it all right here and now. But what Mr. Sladek's going to do is just walk us through some of the pictures and, some of his concerns with respect to the photographs and how the proposed parking that's being suggested by the applicant does not comply with the zoning ordinance. And unfortunately, we have to do this because we don't have any kind of engineered plan or any kind of documentation that the ordinance would be complied with respect to parking.
Your Honor, I have an objection with reference to 813.
What's your objection?
My objection is, who has prepared this? Was this done by an engineer?
Well, I guess she'll ask the client, her client.
It is not been done by an engineer, nor did I represent that it's done by an engineer.
Or who did it?
Let her,
Did
let
you
her,
do it?
Mr. Sladek prepared it initially, and
Mr. Slavic prepared this.
yes, and I worked with him on it with regards to the legal argument.
And is Mr. Sladek an engineer who is able to justify to these various calculations? Parking here violates zoning 390-136.
you can ask,
The highway frontage.
you can ask them out across. Why don't you go ahead?
He's a good resident that we don't work with zoning ordinance, same as any other resident of the township.
Go ahead, put it on, you can cross-examine them.
And so he's prepared this 20-page, would appear to be an engineering study and analyzing.
I'm gonna object to that.
all
That's
of
not,
the
that,
issues.
not mischaracterized what we're presenting. I'm
I'm not-
happy to walk.
I'm
my client
allowing
through.
you to put your back
Thank you.
on with this exhibit,
Thank you.
A13.
Okay, people's worked with, look at page 2 of the exhibit
Do
A13.
you have another copy of this for my client?
I don't.
George, take mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would have been nice to say this before the hearing.
Except for process for zoning hearing board hearings, you don't have to provide your exhibits ahead of time.
I know, courtesy is not required.
It's just the law. Okay, why don't you describe for the supervisors, your concerns with the parking on the parking lot that's adjacent to the Butterscotch Cafe?
My concerns were that the testimony I was hearing, and even from the zoning officer, everyone was just doing estimates. And the estimates were as high as 24 spots in the stone parking lot. And I've never seen that many cars in there. So I was trying to get an idea how many actual parking spots we have, because we don't have a diagram with measurements and anything else. Right, so I applied this, what was required in the zoning. Spots have to be 9 feet wide, 12 feet wide for handicap spots. So I went on Google Earth and I tried to get measurements from the lot. And based on those measurements from the lot, the aerial, which is what I have photographs here, there's actually only 17 spots that can fit in that lot.
Page 2, is that the same lot or is that two different lots?
Same lot,
Okay,
one side is measured on the top, the other side is measured on the bottom.
thank you.
Yeah, two rows of parking.
And again, you felt compelled to do this because we have no engineering plan to refer to from the applicant, is that correct?
Yeah, and everyone's saying, oh, it can hold 24 cars, but it can't, and those are the cars that are winding out in the street and on my property and on the property around the neighborhood.
Okay, we're moving on to page 3.
Objection. Your Honor, we didn't say 24, we said 20 spaces, which is what you see from the photographs. There's parking pieces in front, you can count them.
I'll
There's
let
10
you,
each.
I'll let you cross-examine him and you can make those arguments at the end. Go ahead.
Referring to page 3, Butterscotch had given an estimate of 6 spaces along the south side of the hollow in the grass. Why don't you describe what signs are posted in that area?
Page 3. Actually, it's, the pictures on page 3 are, Blowing Springs, next to the Berkshire Runville Cafe. And there, they were saying they have 12 spots, and actually, according to the Google Earth, 2 of those spots were actually on a neighboring property. It's 90 feet long on their property, which can fit 10 spots. 2 of the spots are.
This witness is testifying to a lot of technical detail that he doesn't have any knowledge of.
I'll let you cross-examine him about that.
So 90 feet. Well, the first thing that I was concerned about is the zoning ordinance. It says you can't park perpendicular to the road. Okay, so it's a safety hazard. You can't abut directly on a public street or highway right of way.
Okay, let's move on to that one.
If they can, they've got 10 spots and they've got no parking signs up on 2 of them.
And then referring to page 5 and 6, are these pictures of the area that is supposedly additional parking? Can you describe what's going on in that area?
This is the 6 new spots along Hollow Road, which again abut directly onto the highway. The testimony that I heard in the last hearing was these spots were weather permitting. And this is what they look like. In fact, they look like that today. It's all mud and I witnessed at least 2 cars get towed out of the mud because it's so bad. So again, the zoning doesn't allow to park here, and the area is not maintained.
And does page 7 is that additional photo of that area being unparkable?
Cars park there anyway, as you can see, the tracks, and they get stuck in the mud and have to call tow truck. Page 7 is the same 6 spot covered in snow. And
And have you heard any testimony, again, we're gonna try to kind of cut to the chase a bit here. Have you heard any testimony about how the employees or where the employees are going to park on the property?
I don't know where they park on the property. But yeah, I'm not sure where they park.
On page 11, 12, and 13, can you discuss or describe what's taking place between the Butterscotch Cafe parking lot and your property? With regard to landscaping and woods and trees?
So the area where those 6 parking spots are on Hollow Road and the outdoor tables is between the parking lot and my property line. Used to be completely wooded with trees and bushes. They were removed and, which was legal screening that needed to be provided. So it makes it even louder. I get lights from the cars parking in the lot all night while the restaurant's open. And I even get pollution and lots of noise, car alarms. I can hear people talking and eating. The sound from the music was even worse because there's no barrier now between my property and the Butterscotch outdoor seating.
What pictures depict that area?
Right here.
Page 13 is the old photos showing that it was wooded. Those are very old photos that I had to get them on Google because I don't have photos of other people's property laying around. And then page 14 is what it looks like now, out there.
That was the board.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
814. And it's a bit more clear of a depiction of what Mr. Sladek's talking about. Unfortunately, the pictures are from a different angle, but it gives you an idea of the area that's all clear now. On the second page, you can see that there used to be a long fence there and trees and bushes, and now there's not.
That's his property.
So, Mr. Sladek, let's take a break from 813 and look at 814. Can you just describe?
Yeah, that's looking directly at my property. The trees that you do see that are there are my trees. And it was cleared out years ago and grass was put in. And then used to be parking there. Francis used to store us both there for a little while. And now it's outdoor seating and parking.
So on the second page of 814, that's from a different angle, but essentially at one point that big white fence went all the way to the parking lot and there was no benches are in that area, correct?
Yeah. The fence wasn't there, but the woods were there. This picture was taken when the
I
fence.
don't remember that.
So there's been quite a change to that area of the property, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Slating, is the fence on your property?
No.
Okay.
The fence is the fence was taken out like 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
20 years ago?
Yeah, at least.
And whose property is that on? Is that on the Butterscotch property or?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Whose property is that white fence on?
That's it.
This picture is all Francis' property.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the Butterscotch property.
Okay.
Yes,
The white picket fence is his too.
yes. It's gone, but the picture is their property.
It's gone now, and that area that's behind that white fence is what currently is the picnic tables and the new parking, correct?
Right. Trying to show there were trees and bushes and wooded area between the parking lot and my property, which was required by zoning.
Required by zoning.
Any other questions?
I don't think I have any more questions. I think we'll let the supervisor absorb.
Mr. Martin, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Mr. Slating, you're saying that there were trees on Francis's property
Yes,
20 years ago?
yes, and more recently, he removed the trees. The fence was removed more than 20 years ago. The trees and bushes and trees were removed when they purchased it, the property. The land was cleared.
There's some bush.
So In the picture,
No, I
everything
didn't think I
inside that
would.
fence is on your land.
No, that is Butterscotch property, the whole picture.
You're saying that the area inside the fence is Butterscotch's land?
Yes,
But depicted years ago, correct?
yes.
I'm confused.
I'm confused. Yeah, let's look at some other photos.
You can see the parking lot in the picture.
Yeah, I can see the parking lot, and that's Francis Park. And that's not had a fence on it for 20 years.
Correct.
And then it
More
hasn't
than
had
20 years.
trees on it for 20 years.
No, that's not true.
You say did not have trees on, I didn't get that.
It hasn't had a fence on it for
Right,
20
got that
years.
right.
And it hasn't had trees on it
I'm
for
gonna
20
object
years.
now.
That is incorrect. The trees were cleared when Francis bought the property. The trees and bushes were cleared when he bought the property. Sometime after.
Mr. Mark, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. Your own.
Yeah.
Property doesn't begin until the fence.
All right, first of all, we have to make everyone, we have to identify what is it you're talking about and what page for the record.
We're looking at S12, picture 2.
Next question, please.
Yes. Can we agree that your property begins with the fence?
No.
Where
Cannot
does your
agree.
property
It's about
begin?
15, 10 to 15 feet farther. Right here.
Where are you
Where
saying?
those bushes are.
You're looking at exhibit 2 of exhibit 12. And where are you pointing to? Can you describe where you're pointing to?
Just left of the car that's parked perpendicular.
Okay,
That car is on the Butterscotch property. To the left of that car is where my property starts.
where there's a bush or some plant.
Yes,
Okay.
and then there's a fence.
Okay. And the fence that we see in this photograph of exhibit 2, it's not the same fence.
It continued all the way because it was the same owner years ago.
Okay, all right, got it.
Mr. Slavic, you're not an engineer, are you?
No, I am not.
You're not a zoning expert, are you?
No, I'm not.
And these figures that you have on exhibit A13 of the amount of footage on each side, did you measure that yourself?
No. That's why I said I didn't. It's from Google Earth, an estimate.
So it's an estimate from Google Earth that you then did calculations on.
I divided it by 9 feet, which is the required width of parking spaces. Yes.
You've seen the parking things along the ground that are there now, have you not, over at Butterscotch?
Things along the ground.
Yeah, the little parking bumpers, parking
yes.
bumpers.
Yes.
Okay. And can we agree that there's 10 bumpers on both sides?
No, you can't agree. I
Can't
don't
agree
know.
to that.
I don't know.
So if we look at the pictures and we can count to 10, I'll let the pictures speak for themselves.
That's fine.
Here we got a picture somewhere of the bumpers. You can count 'em.
Yeah, they're.
The bumpers are 9 feet wide.
Don't have any other questions.
Okay, so we're gonna take a short break.
I do want to recall Francis just.
Okay, let us take a short break.
Yeah.
Give Tommy a little bit of break. We'll go over an hour and a half. Convene in 10 minutes. Thank you. Yeah.
All disappeared. All.
Right, so that was exactly. I was gonna say, so when he's saying one spot during business hours. Okay. It's actually really little, 17 spots, so because. Yeah. So he's saying it's inaccurate. And have you ever noticed and I also noticed this the other day, when people park here, they're actually out on the street. They're sticking out. Right. So like when people are parked here, are you also bringing up the fact that my husband mentioned something about when there's outdoor seating, there needs to be a barrier between the parking and that? Okay. I just thought that was a good point too, that it needs to be, because anybody could hit the gas and run into a picnic table. Yeah. My thing was, I was laughing when they were saying, like, it's not your job. Your job, when you do what you're supposed to do, point to the township. So when people say, why did you turn people should have common sense not to be somebody's tracks. Like, I'm just figured, like, I didn't get inspired up until I was here. And I'm like, I don't really know I'm not really able to know what to say. I mean, the only thing I can question is, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, well, this looks like shit right now. This is all mud and the thing is, when they said that they put the no parking things up, so those cones were knocked over and somebody parked there. I saw people parking there on Saturdays. Even though those cones were there, they were knocked over and people were parked there. So, I mean, they did not. Well, to be honest, my thing actually is when I went around that turn, like a stop sign and turn, people are standing in the middle of the road. And you're like, it was literally cross and walk, take pictures, and I'm like, get off the road. It is, yeah, it's tough though, because it is a small country road, so I get that, but the thing is, sells it. Exactly, we're gonna. I mean, there needs a limit. Because when people say that version that's quaint and cute, okay, that's what you like about it. It's so quaint and cute, and you're down there asking to change that. So, really do. Yeah. Do they have their meeting at time? Like after this, or like?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Move for our recorder.
When you're ready.
That maybe can switch it up.
Thank you. I needed a walk.
All right, we're back on the record, please. Where were we? I lost track.
Who's gonna do?
You had some more?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Trent's back on.
Okay, yep.
Oh, I'm not done with the
Oh, thought you were.
Close, very close.
Good.
I'm going to hand up to the board. There are certain sections of the zoning ordinance and your parking requirements. And you have, you know, obviously you can put the ordinance online, but I thought I'd make it blank. So as marked as exhibit A15, certain excerpts from township ordinances. Mr. Slack, you've taken some time to review the ordinance that regulate uses in your township, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm going to direct you to it's section 390-47. Sorry, 390-48B2. And this is the section that regulates what uses are allowed by conditional use in the Bertrandville Village District. Can you describe what number 2, can you read what number 2 is?
Yeah, it's restaurants, tea rooms, cafes, provided that food be served at tables by the establishment and that it not be designed for drive-in or takeout business. And provided that the total ground floor is 2,000 square feet or less.
As you're understanding, this is what the conditional use was sought for several years ago, and it's also being sought this evening.
Yes.
Section, can you please take a look at section 390-50? And that set forth some special design requirements that are in the ordinance in order to protect the Bertrand Village historic area. And can you read what B reads?
It says each permitted principal use other than a parking lot or off-street loading facility or public utility shall be conducted within a completely enclosed building.
Thank you. Moving on from that, I've got section 390. This is the parking section. 390-135 G. And this is the section of the zoning ordinance that talks about supervisors having some flexibility with respect to how much parking should be provided for a conditional use. But can you read for us what it says after special exception or conditional use?
For any use is permitted by the special exception or conditional use, it shall be the burden of the applicant to prevent evidence of the parking needs of the proposed use.
Thank you. And finally, you and I have talked at length about this being a conditional use process and that the township has certain standards for review of proposed conditional use that the applicant must satisfy in order to be granted conditional use. And those are set forth in section 390-219C. And do you have any concerns with whether or not the applicants actually satisfied those requirements?
I wasn't aware that they had, and that was concerning to me.
In particular, were you concerned about them not having safe and adequate access to roads and public utilities?
Yeah, letter F, the proposed use will provide for safe and adequate access to roads and public utilities and will not create excessive demands on existing streets, services, utilities, stormwater controls, or adversely affect surrounding properties in general. And that's my basic complaint.
And then what about letter E? Can you read that for the record, please?
The proposed use is consistent with the general nature of the surrounding uses and will not conflict with existing uses on neighboring properties. And it will be maintained in a manner which will protect the character and property values of the surrounding area.
So your concern is not necessarily with, a more limited use. It's the expansion that's occurring upon the property, correct?
Yes, the expansion that's already occurred.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Ms. Lydic, you quoted from the zoning ordinance about how it's the burden of the applicant to present evidence of the parking needs. Would you read the rest of that section, beginning with that?
Or the Board of Supervisors, in granting continued use approval, may attach specific parking requirements which may be equivalent to, greater than, or less than the requirements set forth in the section.
So that the supervisors have the absolute right to ask for less than the ordinance requires, as long as the evidence shows that that is appropriate. They have the right to ask for less than is set forth in the ordinance. Not what it says?
It seems to say that.
Now, you testified that your property extended beyond the fence.
Correct.
We can see in this photo here that that's your fence.
What photo you're referring to?
This is the oblong A9.
I think you gave them back.
I took yours.
You took mine. Okay, go ahead.
Can we agree that that's your fence?
Yes,
And can we agree that where the cars are parked is all Francis's property?
yes,
And can we agree that the distance between the car on Francis's property and your fence is maybe 4 feet?
no,
How much is it?
it's about 10 to 15 feet.
No.
Let the photographs speak for themselves.
Okay.
Again, another photograph was part of A5. That car is on Francis's property,
Yes, in fact, that's Francis's car.
and that's your fence that's right behind the car, correct?
Behind the car is the road. Next to the car,
Next to the car.
you can barely see my fence, yes.
I don't have any other questions.
There is
This
a
one-
lot line marker.
Yeah, and it's not 10 to 15 feet, it's not.
Okay, hold on.
Ex-
Anything else?
Excuse me, there is an open seat here if anyone would like it in the front. Someone has left.
All right, do you have any other witnesses?
I'll just ask a follow-up question for Mr. Sladek. Is there any issue with the property lines?
No,
Discrepancies?
no, they don't trespass. I don't trespass on their property. I don't understand the issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's okay.
I just want to recall Francis just to respond to that.
Go ahead.
Francis, when you bought the property, did you take down any trees along the road there?
You take down any trees there?
Not remove bushes, like,
No trees?
no trees, not that I recall, no.
Not any. Oh, I was wondering, and how far is it from the end of his fence to your property line?
About 5 feet, I would say.
About 5 feet.
5 feet, yes.
That's right, question.
Okay, we're good with this witness? Right.
Question
Mr. Brockridge, do you have a
for
question? Go ahead.
Slade. When you had an issue, did you, generally, when you, as a resident, when you make complaint to the township or when things are done in plain sight, do you think it's a reasonable expectation that the township would enforce its own rules and that you wouldn't be encumbered with the sole obligation of enforcing those rules or investigating the enforcement of those rules? Things that you think are in plain sight of violation in plain sight.
Yes, I didn't even think I had to say anything, because the traffic was so bad, I thought someone would take care of it. That's why I didn't do it at first.
And when you were making these estimations in your testimony regarding the packet that your attorney submitted this evening, you didn't imply that you were an engineer. You were making estimations as a citizen, trying to understand the ordinance and what's happening on the ground.
Correct, because
as a resident and property owner.
yes, and that there was testimony at the last hearing that there was up to 24 spaces in that spot, and it's just physically not possible. I wish it were.
At this point, that's, yeah,
Okay. All right, is anyone else who is a party have any questions for Mr. Sladik? You have a question for Mr. Sladik? Joey?
Steve, had you calculated how many parking spots are for the post office? So during Butterscotch business hours, when the post office is open, how many spots belong to the post office?
So, Stephen parks there all day, and up to and two customers
So
park
that's
there.
a lot. So it's not 20 spots, it would be 17 spots.
Well, it would, yeah, because they share it with the post office.
Okay.
So they have to account for 3 more cars.
Any other questions for Mr. Sladik? All right. Do you have anything else?
No, but I would like the people who come here to,
All right, we'll get to that. I just want to clear off any other witnesses, testimony?
No, I was including your remarks.
Okay, we'll get to that. All right, so the people that are parties, you had the opportunity to present sworn testimony, to be sworn in, or present evidence if you have any physical evidence. So anyone who wishes to do that as a party, now is your time. Those of you that are not parties, you'll have an opportunity to make comments after that. Anybody who's a party wishes to present testimony or evidence. Well, are you going to provide, you want to be sworn in? At our last hearing, you said you had a photograph, but you don't have a photograph anymore?
That's, yeah, I also have a comment on this general proceeding I wanted to read to the board.
Okay, well.
Can I get your name again?
Yeah.
George Dolcina. E-U-L-P-H-I.
Okay. But George, you're a party. Do you want to come up? Why don't you come up and do that now? Yeah, whatever. You, no, they weren't. He wasn't, you need to be.
I don't think so. I can't remember.
We swear the testimony.
I do. Okay, first I want to start with a continuation of what I brought up last time, and I have a document to present to the board. I can find it in here. Okay. But basically, this is a document.
Let me see it first.
Okay.
And we're going to mark it as Delchinus 1.
I have another copy, I think.
How do you spell your last name?
Dulchinos.
Okay, and it appears to be an aerial photograph.
Yes, this is basically a photograph illustrating what I explained verbally last time, that in Tracy's review letter in May 2024, she stated there was room for 12 cars with 9 feet per car. And my point was that she, I think, inadvertently measured from the buildings to the creek, and that's too far. That actually measures frontage on my property. And this photograph clarifies the distance.
So the distance you have written here.
90 feet about, which is 10 cars if it's a 9-foot space.
Okay.
And so that's what I was trying to bring up
Okay,
last.
and that's off of Flowing Springs Road, right?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's Flowing Springs Road.
Okay, let's see. Any questions? You finished, George?
With that, yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I have a comment that I wanted to read.
Go ahead, make it now.
Okay. Okay, these following comments I'm presenting to the board as an adjacent property owner with party status at the conditional use hearing. I'm at 1415 Hollow Road.
Don't read it too quick.
Oh,
Just keep your voice up too.
okay. Too fast or?
Everybody's too fast.
All right. Okay, so I am both Butterscotch and the Bertramville Cafe. We've lived in Bertramville for 28 years. During that time, the population of West Vincent and the surrounding area has grown considerably, and not surprisingly, so has traffic volume. However, the village of Bertramville maintains essentially the road infrastructure that existed 50 years ago with almost no possibility of modernization. This situation is unlikely to change in the foreseeable future, and I think a lot of the residents are not upset about that. Historically, the village hosted many commercial enterprises. This has dwindled to just 2 now, 3 if you count Butterscotch and the cafe separately. The surrounding area is almost exclusively residential. A GIS search of properties within 500 feet yields 25 properties within 500 feet and 60 within a quarter mile of a bakery. Again, these are residential properties. The store, Birchville store, since 1899, it's been a retail business at one point or another, general store, post office, restaurant. And until recently, the Steam Bakery across the street where Butterscotch is located, built in 1904, was either a private residence or an antique business that served just a handful of customers. About 2016, the Steam Bakery was transformed into a contemporary pastry shop, and it's a great success story, or we wouldn't be here tonight. It's evidenced by the popularity of what they've done at Butterscotch. So as the business prospered, the parking lot that was once empty is now filled on weekends with customers looking to enjoy what they serve: fine pastries, coffee, other baked goods. Outdoor seats were installed during the pandemic, and allowed customers to enjoy the peaceful and quiet nature of mornings in Bertramville. So it's a testament to the skill of these guys that they were able to build 2 very successful businesses in Bertramville. So that's the background. Talk about our concerns. It's likely that the vast majority of those attending this hearing, including the board up front, have been customers of the pastry shop and cafe, both of which offer excellent dining experiences. But when you analyze issues, you got to look beyond this and consider the impact on a community as a whole. Our zoning recognizes that when properly scaled, these businesses have a place in the village, offering a relatively low environmental impact. At the same time, the very nature of a small village is that there are limited spaces within to accommodate various issues, and a business grows, it ultimately puts pressure on these resources. Our concerns about the scale of business and traffic in the village are not unprecedented. In April 2008, the Board of Supervisors denied a development proposal for the adjacent Bertramville Schoolhouse, citing, among other things, failure to establish compliance with off-street parking requirements, set forth in the zoning ordinance and to provide landscaping as required by zoning. A traffic study in October of 2008 submitted by Heinrich and Klein for the schoolhouse development estimated a peak of 35 trips per hour, which is a number that's probably exceeded now on weekends in Bertramville. The stated purpose of the Bertramville zoning is to provide orderly development of those uses compatible with the village character. We must look to it as a guide to define ways in which village resources are utilized. Our expectation is that the conditional use decision by the Board of Supervisors will be consistent with these ordinances. Your decision is binding on the property use in perpetuity. So the concerns that we are bringing up have to consider that the ownership of the business may change in the future and go beyond any relationship we have with the current owner, since we don't know who we would be dealing with. These concerns fall into four categories, our concerns: parking, lighting, deliveries and service vehicles, hours of operation, and outdoor music. Start with parking, since that seems to be a big topic tonight. West Vincent zoning ordinances include parking regulations to promote safety and traffic flow. Considering that the vast majority of customers of these businesses bring a vehicle into the village, having sufficient spaces to park them and the business's employees is of utmost importance. All the roads that surround the Butterscotch property have single-lane choke points and cannot support on-street parking. Previously, and this has changed a little because I wrote it before tonight, but the applicants verbally claimed a certain number of spaces, but have not presented any illustrations to support the numbers. A schematic representation showing parking spaces superimposed on an aerial photograph will clarify exactly how many spaces are available and where they are. As of this writing, which was earlier, I'm not aware that such a document is presented. I don't know if it is or isn't. And it's unclear whether we had that tonight or not. I do have a concern that the parking spaces directly on Hall Road appear to be in violation of several sections of the zoning ordinance, which was brought up previously, and specifically 390, 136A, that's parking cannot abut a private street, and 390, 139A4, landscape and screening standards for parking areas. Furthermore, the Phoenixville Regional Comprehensive Plan, which is also West Vincent's comprehensive plan and the basis for our zoning, specifies parking lots in village areas should be limited to side or rear of buildings only and screened from the street. The recent parking expansion on Hall Road was installed in an ad hoc manner when they ran out of spaces. I mean, you got a space there, you aim the car at it, I get it. But it was not designed. The township has a well-established process to avoid problems like this and should be used when appropriate. This is my observation. It seems that the flat area, the grass area adjacent to the existing gravel lot on Hollow Road could be developed into an expanded parking area and fully screened from the roadway in neighboring properties around its perimeter with an evergreen hedge or something. The Butterscotch parcel is 3.5 acres and has sufficient space to relocate outdoor dining, if permitted by the board, into the further towards the center of the parcel away from neighboring properties. So what we would ask is that the board's conditional use decision be based on evidence of sufficient parking based on the occupant capacity for all intended uses of these facilities and within adherence to the zoning. Second concern is hours of operation of delivery and service vehicles. Due to the popularity and growth of these businesses, there's been an increase in commercial truck traffic to support them and service them. That's fine, it's kind of expected. But some of the problems that we run into, the trash truck was coming at 5:30 in the morning to empty the dumpsters. And that's a 15-minute process because the streets have to be maneuvered by backing down and backing into them with the backup alarms ringing and strobe lights flashing, which in the winter is a little disconcerting, followed by a slam of an empty dumpster on the ground. Now, we did notify Francis of this issue, and he was able to reschedule the trash truck to arrive after 7 in the morning, which is satisfactory to me. And while the trash truck is the most extreme example here, there's other regular delivery service trucks, sewage haulers, et cetera, that back down Flowing Springs Road, again, with backup alarms. There's no way to avoid that. And although these currently are scheduled during business hours, normal business hours, in the future, someone else could schedule them at 5:30 in the morning. So I'm going to ask the board that they require service vehicles, including delivery, trash, and sewer trucks, to operate after 7 in the morning as part of a decision. Third concern, lighting. Obviously, the parking lots have to be lit for safety. The lighting along Flowing Springs Road was enhanced last year with extremely bright, high glare bulbs, which are contrary to the township zoning requirement that all parking lighting should be full cutoff style lights and installed in a horizontal position aimed straight down. Again, we notified Francis about this, and he was able to replace them with no glare down lights. We were satisfied with that, but again, just like with the delivery service vehicles, I'm asking that the board make the decision to require specifically that all outside lighting meet the West Vincent requirements for glare and intensity. Live music. So there was a little bit of conflicting testimony, but as I said previously, the outdoor seating, is the attraction, is people want to hear it, sit in a quiet morning, enjoy their pastry and coffee. And live music for some customers is an enhancement to the experience, but in a valley like we're located, it's impossible to keep the sound from traveling, and electronic sound reinforcement makes that impossible. And most likely a violation of the noise ordinance, which sets sound level limits at the property boundary at 60 decibels during the week and 50 on Sundays. And just to note, an example of 60 decibels is normal conversation at the property boundary. So it's not possible to do that legally, I believe, with sound reinforcement. And I don't know if it's disputed that amplification was used or not, but I'll say for sure it was, at least on the October 8th event. And I know at least one member of the Board of Supervisors was attending, and so the board should be aware of that. So what I'm going to ask is that the conditional use decision, live music should be acoustic only without sound reinforcement. Finally, in summary, our zoning contemplates the existence of commercial enterprises in the village, something that we support and supported at the original Butterscotch conditional use. During the pandemic, which put unprecedented pressure on dining establishments, the township relaxed zoning enforcement. This policy not only allowed Butterscotch to prosper, but to grow exponentially. As neighbors, we try to be accommodating to the growth. At our own expense, we've installed and continue to install landscaping and screening to adapt to the increased business activity. To make space in the parking area on Flowing Springs Road, Francis had inadvertently moved his dumpsters onto our property. Now, rather than cause a problem, force him to remove them and reconfigure his parking lot, we gave him a no-cost land lease to leave them there. Some things are more difficult to accommodate, however. On busy weekends, our driveway has become a turnaround. This occurs continuously if the Hollow Road lot is full because customers don't want to circle Schoolhouse Lane and come back down looking for another space. Most often they pull in and then back out, and other times they don't. They come all the way down the driveway looking for somewhere to turn around. Yesterday, 3 people in a row did it. So it's not, it's an irritation, and it happens frequently. The same zoning that allows commercial enterprises in the village also provides guidelines on how they operate. Now that COVID is over, the township must resume zoning enforcement and make sure ordinances are followed to the extent of the law possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a copy of this
We're making.
statement? Would you like me to submit it? I
Yeah,
could
let's-
email it if that is better.
Well, I like, if you have a physical.
I have a
copy,
physical
then
copy. I can give you.
We'll mark it, they'll choose too.
Email Christina a copy
Okay.
tomorrow. if you
Thank
want.
you.
Would you like me to email them?
Yeah, you can, we can make
I
copies.
could, I'll do both of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good for you.
If you get a chance, I'll give you mine.
Okay,
If you get a chance.
you'll get it.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Always fun.
Thank you. Anyone, any other person who was a party wish to make a statement or present evidence? Please identify yourself. You're gonna be. sworn
Suzanne
in.
Roth, ROTH, 136, Suzanne, Suzanne. The last name is Roth, ROTH, 1360 Schoolhouse Lane. And mine is more of a comment other than,
Are you gonna give testimony or you're just gonna comment?
I'm going to comment, I
Okay.
believe. I thank George for being as precise as he usually is. For those of us who are not so technical, it's pretty terrific. And this is my comment. First of all, I want to say that all that George said, particularly about Francis and Newing and our appreciation of their business, is absolutely true. The issues that are at hand have nothing to do with that. So this is what I wanted to say. As I recall, the zoning ordinances for the Birch Run Village Commercial District were carefully crafted to retain the rural aspects of our village and the safety of those who visited. The addition of outside tables during the 2020 pandemic were deemed allowable due to the restrictions of personal close interaction. What began as 5 tables has morphed into 18, an unsustainable number due to parking deficiency. The lack of parking has created a safety hazard to the village. Getting emergency vehicles into the village with the way things are today is virtually impossible. We understand why outsiders visiting our village and enjoying the sumptuous offerings from the Butterscotch particularly are enchanted by the ambiance that is the village. That's what drew most of us here, but most visitors are not country people and do not understand how we behave on our roads. We who live in the village are disturbed by excess noise and jockeying for position to pick up our mail, particularly on weekends. We cannot have strangers walking on our dangerous roads without proper visibility, dress, and knowledge of which side of the road to walk on. And I can tell you a lot of them don't. They walk on the incorrect side and it's scary. I can no longer walk my dog at any time of day without a reflective vest for me and the dog. Unfortunately, the fact that most vehicles do not drive at the speed limit and come to a full stop at stop signs has aggravated the situation. The decisions the BOS make on the conditional use hearing will affect all who live here into the future. And I want to emphasize that, into the future. Francis and Nui have been very helpful in fixing the immediate problems that have aggravated most of us, but they can't fix the traffic. And as an aside, our July 4th parade was shut down for just these reasons. Now, this is not the July 4th parade, but every single weekend, we have excess traffic that is in that village. And it worries me deeply. We have children who are coming who, if God forbid, should dart into the road would be a problem. There are dogs, and I'm a dog owner and lover, and I love that people can come and enjoy this space. And we want them to enjoy it, but safely. And that's the biggest issue. It really has become a huge hazard. I jump off the road many times when I walk my dog daily. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other parties wishing to make a comment or give testimony?
Not used to coming to a lecture and my voice is usually more than enough to carry through walls. Carl Brockwitz, 1286 and 1304 Hollow Road. We own 2 parcels in the village.
You're gonna give testimony, you need to be sworn in.
Okay, fine.
All right, Carl, you swear testimony you give the truth, whole truth, and nothing but.
I do.
Thank you.
I've lived here coming on almost 40. My wife's been a resident here almost 50 years. I served as a supervisor in the township. I've served on the zoning hearing board and the historic commission. It's a total of almost 30 years. I'm intimately aware of and familiar with the zoning process and the rules and the underlying desires of the community. This community's done a lot to try to preserve the rural and historic character of this village and this township. The traffic that has increased, and it's an order of magnitude, as a direct result of the two restaurants. It's alarming on the weekends. I see from my property, inside or out, day and night, the lights either picking up and dropping off at the restaurant, the cafe, or the traffic pulling into the Butterscotch or attempting to pull in, and then the post office, and then the intersection at Flowing Springs and Hollow Road. I've been frustrated because the township was notified 4 different times. I've had direct conversations with the zoning officer, 2 managers, neither of which currently works for the township, building inspector, and the police department about the issues, the safety issues, parking, sewage, screening, lighting, dumpsters, all in the ordinances. This has already been defined and regulated by our existing ordinance. There has been 0 enforcement until recently. 0. So the handicap spot is regulated by the Americans with Disabilities Act. I specifically spoke with the zoning officer at least twice directly about the handicap spot. It's not legal. It's not close to legal. It never complied. It never would comply. The zoning officer's engineering firm, now and previous, should have lost their licenses with the state because they are the ones who do the enforcement for the state for handicap parking. They don't enforce. There are no exemptions. It's in violation now. You cannot give exemptions. This board has no right to do that. That lot must be paved. Those parking spots must be paved to certain standards, painted and signed to certain standards. They've never complied, not even close. They've never complied with parking at all. The zoning ordinance is very clear. It's not hard. They've never complied. They've never complied with the dumpster placement or enclosures, ever. They've never complied with the lighting ordinance. It's clear. The noise ordinances, it's clear. The township should have made some effort to enforce the rules. I have personally had this discussion with at least 2 members of the board, the zoning officer, the building inspector, the police chief. It's incredibly frustrating as a resident, myself, my wife, my neighbors, who feel reluctant to speak because they are concerned that if the township has not enforced their own rules, but have enforced them with other folk, perhaps those folk who speak up will then receive the same treatment of, ooh, nah, we don't like you, but we like the businesses. That's how it appears. My concern is not with the folks who own these properties. I don't know them. My concern is this is going to continue. And if you do not enforce our ordinances and show that you care, because you haven't, we need to see that. We are going to be in a worse place in the future. This is going to get even further out of control. It's not safe. They don't have the parking. Half the existing parking that they're talking about doesn't comply with the ordinance. The delivery trucks have to fit into the spot, into the paved parking area. The postal truck is supposed to go there. It's on the road, blocks the intersection. They have 3 uses, the post office, 2 restaurants, apartments in both buildings are allowed with these uses. No one's talked about the apartment parking.
We don't have apartment.
They are allowed in the ordinance to have apartments in those buildings. And unless they have specifically recorded against their deeds, that they're gone, we must assume that those are available. They must provide to the township that they are going to do something about this. They're asking you for relief. Reasonable conditions may be applied, must be applied, but they have not demonstrated a willingness to comply to this date. So it's incumbent upon this board to demonstrate to the remaining residents of the village and the township that you take this seriously. And I would submit that there should have been an engineered plan, at least a sketch plan, so we all had a reference document to work from. That's rudimentary, basic. It's required when you bring in a plan to the planning commission to do something, or the zoning hearing board. And I believe it's spoken about in our ordinance now for this process. It's usually done for conditional use. And it was not done. That bothers me and other residents. Why the favors? Why the special considerations? That's how it looks. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Anything else?
Not right now.
Okay, anyone else wish to be a party, or who has a party wishes to speak? All right, I don't see anyone else. Okay.
Sue, did you want to?
I just want to ask the board a question.
No,
Can
I need you to testify or give a comment.
I think I can give a comment.
Well, then go
I'd
ahead.
like to give a comment.
You swear the testimony will be the truth, whole truth, no?
Yes, I do.
Suzanne.
My name is Sue Krug.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You need to get your-
My comment about the auxiliary parking in the area, because I know there's been a lot of talk about the parking. And regarding the auxiliary parking being up at the former township building, I would just like to ask the board to consider the distance of the auxiliary parking from the entrance to the restaurant or the bakery, and also the distance to travel to get there. And the
Okay.
safety of the road.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who's a party? All right. So, we have an opportunity for everyone else in the room who wishes to speak for or against the applicant to come up. Generally, what we do, there's a hand.
I was raising my hand to come up.
Okay, well, hold on a second. Generally, I don't want to cut anyone off. But if someone says what you're going to say, then there's no need for 3 people to say that or 20 people to say that. So we'll invite anyone who wants to come up for or against to say what you want to say. But I'd like to try to keep it manageable so that we're not here for another hour. All right, so who would like to come up? For or against? Go ahead.
I want to be a voice of reason and a voice of,
Can we have your name, please?
caring. Merrill Joplin, MERYL I live 2120 Lowing Springs Road, Bertrandville. I moved to Bertrandville in 1992. It was a bucolic hamlet and Gar owned the restaurant. There was not a lot of traffic. We could walk our dogs. We didn't have to be worried about running into the ditches on the side of the road when cars were coming up and down both ways. In 1997, I joined Kenneth Carroll Real Estate as his only other real estate person, and I represented the property on Hollow Road that the Sladicks bought. I did not represent the Sladicks. They paid $50,000 over the asking price because I listed that $299,000 property as the place with $1 million view in a setting that is so incomparable and phenomenal. There were multiple offers on that property. Unfortunately, that bucolic setting no longer exists. Now, I want to say I love Butterscotch. I've gone to Dave and Donna's thing. I had a great time there. I brought my family from out of state. We sit outside. My son goes there all the time. We love it. We just want them to comply with the village ordinances, which have not been complied with as stated. And I do believe in the spirit of compromise that they would return bushes and screening to make it a quieter situation for the residents. I myself drive down to get my mail, and on the weekdays, I have to say, I have not been able to get a parking space. So I walked down and I said to Steve, that's, the post person, I can't get a parking space. What's going on here? I mean, and this has happened more than one time at night. And again, I don't expect Butterscotch I wouldn't expect the cafe to do anything about this. There's nothing they can do, but the cars come up. So my husband's always like sleeping by 9 something, and I try to go to bed by 10. And those cars, though, come up and the lights come right in our window. And it's like nonstop on the weekends. Not saying every day. Like from Monday, I could walk down the hill with my 2 dogs. But if it's during the time, I just don't want them to expand so much. Get a second location. You guys are great. Exton for. I went down one day with the dogs at 3:00, and there was a shower happening at 3:00. I even have pictures of it. I didn't do anything with those pictures, but I don't think that's in accordance with the zoning. I don't think that they got the permit to do a wedding shower. So there's lots and lots of people. I want to see neighborly goodwill to all. And I do believe that we can do that. We can accomplish that, but it might mean limiting some of the expansion. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else wants to speak? One up. Please identify yourself.
Yeah, my name's Don Shoemaker. My wife and I've lived in the township since 1960. And I think, there's been a lot of talk about traffic and the increase of traffic. When I was a child here, there were, I think, 500 residents in the township. And now I'm not sure how many there are, several thousand. So the traffic that's increased is not just because of Butterscotch and because of the cafe. It's because the township has grown. We have developments that have been built up. We have farms that have been subdivided. More houses have been built up. When we walk our dogs, we live up on Jane Lane and Birch Run Road. We see a lot of traffic. It's not going to the cafe. It's not going to Butterscotch. It's just traffic because there are so many people that live out here. The nice thing that this township has been able to do, and especially what Butterscotch and the cafe have been able to do, is provide an atmosphere that meets what we all love to live in. Is a very bucolic, rural type atmosphere where people like to go to. The problem is that it's so nice that there's a lot of outside people. Someone mentioned the 4th of July parade. When the 4th of July parade started, it was 20 families with kids. We were small, and it was a nice event. And all of a sudden it grew because people from out of town all of a sudden heard about it. I worked in Wilmington, Delaware, and one of my colleagues at the time said, "Oh, you need to go to the Birch Runville 4th of July parade. It's great," because they came in all over the place because they had a reputation. The township has done a nice job. Newey and Francis have done a great job, and they provide such a great atmosphere for us to enjoy on the weekends, during the week. For all the years we've lived here and every day we go down there, we've never had a problem with parking. We've never been able to, not be able to find a place to park. And it's always been calm and quiet outside. I haven't been around the 2 days that they've had the music. But if you look at the history, George mentioned, at one time it was a general store. It was a gas station. There were 2 gas pumps. It was in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Birch Runville gets its 2nd gas pump. So it's been an industrial commercial area since probably the 1950s, certainly since before, my parents moved here when I was a child. I think if we want to keep this area, we want businesses like Butterscotch and the cafe. We don't want a Wawa. We don't want,
fast food type outlet that would come in. So I think the board needs, as they look at this conditional use, keep in mind what we want to do. Certainly, I think looking forward, we want to make sure that we preserve it so that at some point in time, if it's ever sold for future owners come in, they have limits around it. But I think that can be done with the conditions that Nui and Francis are asking for with this and maintaining the atmosphere. And it would be a shame to lose that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jaeger. I am a party, but I didn't stand up earlier. Yes. 2336 Blowing Springs Road still. All right. So I am contiguous to the cafe. I walk the roads at least 3 times a day with a horse or without. I'm on the traffic safety committee, and I find that most of the traffic is super respectful, especially in the Butterscotch and Bertrandville area, due to the fact that they are enjoying the location, enjoying the food, enjoying their time. They're not in a hurry. The traffic is actually extremely slow at those times because people are trying to, either find a spot or, get out. So most people that are out of town are extremely friendly that I run into and happy to be in the extra special Bertrandville district. I walk around the block and do whatever. I do agree that the population has expanded exponentially in the area, and that is not due to the fantastic business that they have. The restaurant business, as a consistent statement, is a very difficult business, and for them to be doing as well should not be at all restricted whatsoever, because there are days where they are feeding families that, actually they're feeding employees or paying employees and there's nobody there. So the days that they are open and that they are busy are kind of that savings that they have to use to pay those days that are empty. If anybody told me and I am 49% owner of a small business, if anybody told me that I had to restrict my business and I couldn't keep my other employees and pay them, that would be very detrimental to not just American Way, but just a small business owner in reality. So I have a hard time with the restrictions. I would rather do much more solutions of how to get them, if it's how to get the people out of the area. I find that the takeout would be a great idea so people can come and go and, go to the parks or go somewhere else in the area. But I'd really rather find solutions than restrictions. And I don't want to restrict any businesses because I don't find that very fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak? Someone up? Just identify yourself.
Yes, Tracy Frederick. I live 1054 Hollow Road.
First name.
Tracy.
Tracy, I'm sorry.
TRACI. I live on Hollow Road. I do understand some of the issues with cars, parking. We actually have a lot of people that park on our property and go up Horseshoe Trail. We don't give them permission. We also have people who walk through our property, sometimes accessing Horseshoe Trail behind us, and then across the street, we own that as well. So I do have an understanding of, parking issues and traffic. But why I'm really up here is I'm not sure if the board knows this, if the community knows this, but NUI has partnered with the CCIU Discover program. And for the past 2 to 3 years, she has taken in about, I'd say 10 to 15 young adults with disabilities aged between 18 and 21. She has provided vocational training with job trainers. and really giving these students something that is very hard to come by. I used to work for that program, and that's how the partnership started. I no longer do. But to have somebody as wonderful as Nui, supportive, and to, open up her doors to have these students come in is amazing. So for me, not only am I just proud to live in a community and have a business that does that, but personally, my son started as a student about 2 years ago, unpaid, and he now is a paid employee at Butterscotch. And I cannot even tell you what it is like to have him working in the community. People know him, people know me now, and just, to see him thriving and to feel like he belongs is just amazing. So I guess selfishly also really want to see, something, some kind of agreement and some, solution for this, because I would hate to see that opportunity for those students taken away. Because like I said, I had to go out and find businesses, and it's really tough because, there's just a lot of stigma and things like that. So thank you. And Francis also had him helping this summer in his garden. So he's learning so many wonderful skills, and so are the other students. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name, please.
My name is Herb Evans. I'm here with my wife, Barb, and we live just on the other side of the covered bridge in East Vincent Township. But I patronize not only the Butterscotch, but the post office. And I started patronizing the post office long before the Butterscotch was here. I regularly go down to the post office to mail out packages that I sell on eBay. But I've been going down to the post office for well over 40 years. So I've seen empty parking lots there where you have the whole parking lot to yourself, and I've seen the parking lot pretty full. But it's because of the post office that we learned about the Butterscotch. And we started patronizing the Butterscotch, and pretty much ever since they opened. And for us, being retired older citizens, it's quite an oasis. It's a place to get away from the real world, particularly when the COVID hit. And we go there usually once a week, sometimes more than once a week. But so we've seen the different businesses there across the street through the years, when it was the art studio, antique shop, and so on. And to us, it's just an oasis to get away from the reality for a while. Thank goodness it's there. So I'd just like to ask all of you to do what you can to help them grow and support themselves. Traffic, yes. We live on Pewtown Road, and there was a time there was no traffic at all on Pewtown Road. We used to have dogs and cats. They were safe. Pewtown Road now is nonstop. We can't get out of our driveway for the traffic. So traffic in the area as a whole has grown exponentially, not because the Butterscotch or the cafe. It's just, as some of these other gentlemen stated, it's just a rural development that's taken place. And yes, we see it. There's times you get down to the post office, you can just have the whole parking lot to your space, and others to yourself, and other times you have to look for a place to park. So I'm just here. My wife and I are here tonight to support the Butterscotch, and I'd like to ask you gentlemen and ladies to do what you can to help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak before we close this up? Okay, come on up.
Hi. Taylor Guarneri, Guarneri.
I'll read directly from my email that I had sent to Dana back on October 7th, that I wanted to write on behalf of my support for Butterscotch Pastry Stop and the Bertrandville Cafe and Newey and Francis, their owners. My husband and I moved to the area in 2021, so we are the influx of people that you guys are talking about. In 2022, we had our first child. I came down with a pretty severe postpartum depression, and with an inability to go too far with a newborn, found myself at Butterscotch Pastry Stop a lot. Knew he was always there, politely asking to hold my baby and telling me how great I looked, though I felt like a whale. I knew already she was a light in our community, but her kindness helped lift me up on some of my darkest days in that postpartum experience. There are countless stories I have about Newey and Francis. Newey loving on my child, welcoming my friends and family to the cafe when they would visit, and enjoying anniversary dinners at the Bertrandville Cafe. Understandably, no one thinks West Vincent Township's goal in their decision-making this evening is to shut Newey and Francis down. I'm not removed from the fact that this issue revolves around the parking spaces available during high traffic times on the weekends. However, there is an argument to offer less space to dine outside or inside based on that parking availability. So let's talk about the parking. Yes, spaces at the cafe are lacking. When I've been there on a Sunday morning, I see easily 10 to 12 bicycles parked and bikers milling around the property with their lattes. I have also seen a dad drive on his ATV with 3 boys, all of whom asked to pet my dog, while dad parks in the lawn area. An honorable mention are the locals I see out with their horses for a Sunday stroll. Oh, yep, sorry. An honorable mention are the locals I see out with their horses for a Sunday stroll. And while a wheelbarrow may be necessary after their visit, a parking space is not. Already, we have people getting to the cafe to enjoy their weekend using alternative methods from a vehicle. So let's talk about vehicles. Oftentimes, I see 2 people minimum get out of a car on the weekends. Much more likely to come in one car are families of 3, 4, 5, and even 8 if they're coming in a minivan, because who wants to enjoy Butterscotch solo? While the parking issue still isn't resolved, if everyone carpools, the generosity of neighboring businesses are extending their parking lots to be used to reduce the traffic on Hollow Road. While yes, this will create a small walking path between Flowing Springs and Hollow Road, do we not already see bikers, walkers, and joggers out on those roads? I have to drive down Sheeter Mill to get to Butterscotch from my home, and 9 out of 10 times I'm creating room for dog walkers and horse riders on the road. Flowing Springs and Hollow have a similar population, so anyone walking down from neighboring businesses should be no issue. Newey and Francis give jobs to local teenagers and young adults. They support local businesses in the community, and they provide a gathering place for residents to build their sense of community we know and love in this township. Yes, West Vincent wants to help correct their parking issue from a safety standpoint, but I plead with you all to please keep the seats available, as we absolutely do not want to see these removed from our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi there, Connell Murray. I'm actually an East Vincent person as well. I use the post office.
First name is
Oh, sorry, Connell. You're going to need the spelling on that.
C-O-N-N-E-L.
Close, C-O-N-A-L. The old Gaelic version. Yeah. No, you're close. You're close.
3 letters.
Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y.
All right, thank you.
Now, I'm a terrible public speaker, but I'm a worse singer. So I use the post office pretty regularly. I've never really had an issue in that parking lot using the post office, right? I think the one thing that really stands out to me from this entire event is a lack of communication from some of the residents. The fact that there's never been a conversation with the owners is pretty bizarre, right? I'll leave it at that, but that to me is crazy.
Thank you. Come on up.
My name is Sam Hannevig, Hannevig.
First name is.
Sam,
Sam.
Sam.
I got you, thank you.
I'm gonna keep it short because I might get emotional. I worked at Butterscotch. I'm currently working at Butterscotch. I've been there for almost a year and a half now. And I see him looking out at all these people, and I know almost all of them by name. They've been a support for me for a long time, and I don't know what I would do without a lot of them. Newey's helped me through my ups and downs, and especially Francis too. They're my second parents, and a lot of you are too. Seeing your smiling faces every day has helped me get through things that you guys don't even know. So that's.
Thank you, thank you.
Hello, Julia Brandel. Now everybody, the warm and fuzzy stuff is over. JuliaBrandel. We know how much everybody loves Butterscotch and the cafe. I even made a post about it, and that was the first thing that I said. We all love it. We don't want them to go away. But what this case comes down to are codes, and codes are there for a reason. Unfortunately, the parking isn't available to support the number of seats in the restaurant. I know that the Board of Supervisors has the opportunity to grant a conditional use permit with conditions that hopefully will help out Mr. Sladek with the light coming into his house, with the noise coming from the cafe, with the traffic that he sees in front of his house all the time, with the parking problems that we have. And trust me, there's a lot of people that didn't get up and speak that have parking problems. We don't want to see them go, but what I think people want to see is they want to see the occupancy get down to a reasonable number. And the board can certainly say, plant some trees, get your Hey, did anybody actually go out and survey the parking lot? How many spaces are there? Put that handicap space in there. Everybody, there is a way to satisfy everybody. It's not to close you guys down, but it certainly has to help the neighbors, the residents who live in the area. There, that's all I've got for you.
Thank you.
Adele Schneider. I am actually from East Coventry, but we've come to know and love Francis and Nui. Neider. I want to correct the last speaker. The warm and fuzzies are not over. One thing I heard tonight was that every time Francis was asked to do something, he did it. I had no idea about the overhead lighting. There were many requests made of Francis and Nui, and absolutely everything they did. If they're aware of something, they rectify it. My son is involved in a group to support adults with autism, and he runs a benefit every year. Francis and Nui have never wavered in their support of that. So they don't just pay attention to people in their immediate community, they pay attention and support a much larger audience. And that's what I wanted to say. I love you guys.
Thank you. Identify yourself, please.
Kirsten, Kirsten, Myers, Myers. I moved to Art School Road a little over a year ago. I moved from Schwenksville, Pennsylvania, but I'm originally from Tennessee and had never heard of Schwenksville until 20 years ago when I moved. And now Chester Springs or Bertrandville was not familiar to me. I am also one of the people who have increased traffic for y'all living here. I'm not going to apologize for it because I love it. And I think we have a beautiful community. In my understanding is one of the questions or concerns is parking. We had the Todds offer parking for that. That solves a good amount of the parking question. Again, to reiterate what she said, it seems that anything and everything I was not
where when the very nice gentleman who's very informed shared all the things that he said that they were working with and trying to continue to be a part of the community and make adjustments. It seems like they were very compliant. It is strange for a person. I've actually had people say that I must not be a country person, and I heard that referenced earlier. I can't remember who. I'm not really sure what that means, but to me, living in this community is a community coming together, and through a board working together with a business, neighbors actually speaking to each other and coming to a decision to be able to support two businesses that have been amazing for the community and done amazing things for people in the area, and just being able to work as a community and as a board. I would assume that that is also your goal, and I hope that you're able to do that as a board.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrington. I am one of the country boys. I did grow up in this area, and I can say nobody in this area has embodied the spirit of the way I grew up in this area. These two people right here, they were there for me during COVID. My wife worked nights as a nurse. I was at home with my kid. We live on Hollow Road. Yeah, traffic shit. You're an hour from Philadelphia. What do you expect? It's getting worse. But this community matters. These people matter. Thank you both. Everybody grow up.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I
I think I'm gonna be the last one, right? I'm gonna be the last one. My name is Crystal Coakley. I just want to thank everyone for being here today, all the support for Nui, Francis. This is just tremendous. Obviously, you can see that this community loves them, you know. I bring my family there all the time. Also, I've gone through postpartum stuff. Nui and Francis have always been there for us. If we don't take into effect of the extra parking that Mr. Todd graciously is given to help them, they will go out of business. If they only have a couple parking spots, I know no one wants to shut down Butterscotch. Everyone loves Butterscotch, right? No one wants to shut them down. But if we don't take that into effect, they will go out of business. They will be gone. And so will Bertrandville. And I don't think anyone wants that to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, unless there's someone else that really needs to say something that hasn't been said, I think we got the flavor of what the audience feels both for and against this application. I have a couple of things that I just want to introduce. What am I up to? I guess I'm up to B11. And B12. B11 is emails received by the township about this application. And B12 are letters received by the township for the application. Copy for you, George. B12. Thank you.
Want to note for the record my objection to the emails and the letters.
It's noted. Thank you. Okay. All right, with that, you want to move your exhibits?
Yes, I want to move my exhibits at this time.
You are A through 15? You moving them all?
Well, A7 was what you just submitted as deemed the exhibit, so we can take that one off.
Okay.
We don't need 8. But all of, and 8-3, we never asked to be admitted, but all the other ones I'm moving to be admitted at this time.
Okay, any objection to what he wants admitted?
No objection.
Okay, and your exhibits?
Oh, yeah, my exhibits are S1 through S15.
Okay, any objection to those?
I have no objection to S15 or S14. I do object to S13. This 20-page analysis by Mr. Sladig of the zoning ordinance and the various calculations on parking spots. He's not qualified to do this kind of stuff.
We'll accept it for what it is. There's no technical support attached to it. Okay. Other than that,
I would just ask if
wait,
there's
as far as
anyone.
exhibits, so you're,
No, that's fine with exhibits.
okay, they're admitted. Yeah, they're my exhibits. Yeah, there is. Okay. All right, so you all want to address the board briefly? I think we know what the issues are.
And also, I think there are some other people here, maybe everyone didn't want to get up, but if people want to be, just give their name and their address and whether they're in support or opposed to it, if we could just take their names rather than have them give speeches.
This is what I think we'll do. Is there anyone who didn't stand up and speak who would like to raise their hand in support of the applicant? Okay.
That's a lot of people.
Significant number of people, I'd say at least 20 so hands of people who didn't speak but are in support of the application. Anyone here who didn't speak who's opposed to the application? Okay, there's no other hands that were raised opposed. Thank you all. Okay. So with that, Mr. Martin, you want to address the board?
Yeah.
Briefly?
Do you have a time limit?
2 minutes?
Really, 2?
It's 10 o'clock. Do the best you can.
2 minutes later?
Yeah, I think we know the evidence. Yeah.
The members of the Board of Supervisors, you have an absolute right under our parking ordinance to have the same number of parking spaces as set forth in the ordinance, or more or less, based on the evidence. The evidence is clear that not all of the seats are used at the same time. For one thing, the Butterscotch is separate from Bertrand Store Cafe. They operate at different hours, so they're not overlapping at all in terms of the parking. And in terms of the parking at Butterscotch, when it's a nice day, they're outside. When it's a good day, they're in. When it's a nice day, they're outside. When it's a lousy day, they're inside. They're not both. So you don't need parking for the outdoor spaces when everybody's inside. You don't need parking for the inside spaces when everybody's outside. If you are going to cut down on the total number of seating, we would ask that you please do it on the outside seating and not on the inside seating. Because the outside seating doesn't get used more than half the year. And even if the weather's nice, people would be able to sit inside. But if the weather's lousy and we don't have inside seating, they can't sit outside. As far as you want to do things like limit the music to acoustic, that would not be a problem. If you want to put reasonable restrictions in terms of vegetation, borders to make it look nicer, that's fine. But Bertrandville and the cafe and the store are treasures. They are a community treasure that so many people value. I mean, look at the number of emails and letters that we had. Look at A1, our petition, it was 26 pages of people supporting this. It has huge support, and that's why all the people want to come here. Is there traffic? Yeah. I've been up this way for 30 years, and I used to have one traffic light to go from where I live to where Christy lives. Now there's like 5 traffic lights. It's all the traffic is not for Butterscotch Cafe. It's because we've had a huge increase in population in Chester County and especially in West Vincent. So you can't blame Butterscotch for the fact that there's traffic.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you very much. As the board of supervisors, analyze this application, I would just ask that you, take another look at the memorandum from your zoning officer, exhibit S6. In that memorandum, she talks about, or she actually counts the seats that are inside and outside. She counted 145 seats. She stated that at least 73 parking spaces are required on site. Her count of your parking spaces that are actually feasible was only a mere 32. I would also ask that you can look at your township engineer's letter dated June 17th, where he emphasizes that no street side parking should be allowed based upon your zoning ordinances. He also, was, I guess, concerned that no engineered plan was presented with respect to parking. He also recommended that parking be paved. We've heard a lot about the value that these businesses bring to your community. And we're not discrediting that. We understand that it's a value that it brings to Birchlandville and your residents. But our focus has always been since the beginning is the violations to the zoning ordinance. And the parking, of course, is concerning, mostly because a lot of the parking they're contemplating doesn't actually comply with the ordinances. So I would ask that at some point you have your zoning officer weigh in and really evaluate what parking can be provided on that property that actually complies with your ordinances as they currently stand today. With respect to the conditional use application, before we even get to parking, one of my concerns is that they're asking for a conditional use approval underneath section 39-48B2. And that is defined as a restaurant, tea room, and cafes, provided that the food be served at tables by the establishment that's not designed for drive-in or takeout business, and provided the total ground floor area is 2,000 square feet or less. The definition of restaurant in your ordinance says a building used for the purpose of furnishing or serving food and beverages for consumption to the public and which contains inside seating facilities. Section 3950 of your Birchland Village district provisions talks about permitted uses being conducted within a completely enclosed building. So, I mean, the issue I think that we have is that this board is allowed to allow a conditional use, but it's the conditional use that's set forth in your zoning ordinance. You don't have the authority to further expand that. It's a conditional use. It's defined what it is. What they're asking for is outdoor music, takeout restaurant, outdoor dining, patio use. Those uses don't fall underneath the definition of conditional use that they're asking for approval from. So those are my concerns. If they want to be granted more than that, they actually have to seek a use variance from your zoning hearing board. So our position is that you don't have the authority necessarily to grant them the ability to have the outdoor dining. And then finally, I guess, I know that I'm not sure where the board is going to fall out in this decision, but certainly, substantial buffering being put in place. There being some limitation on the seating because currently the facility can't be parked and you're creating a dangerous parking situation, a dangerous traffic situation in your village. So it's my hope that, we're hoping that you look at your conditional use provisions, understand that you can't grant them more than is allowed underneath the conditional use provisions in your ordinance.
Thank you. And with that, that will conclude the hearing. Thank you.
Your Honor, there were 2 points just to clarify the zoning. Okay, this is not a popularity contest, and this is a zoning issue. So the parking, off-site parking is regulated by ordinance. It has to be within 200 feet. That doesn't meet that requirement. So I just don't want you to get limited to something that's outside your ordinance. We have an ordinance that we're required to follow. It's not a popularity contest, contrary to what some people may like. That was it.
Thank you.
Have we closed the hearing? We adjourned it? They have a date for.
45 days, it'll be.
All right.
45 days.
Could you take control back and announce it? You need to know your date, you don't need to do it later.
We'll do it at our next meeting. They're saying you need to down.
I wish we had more people. I know. Stand up and try. It's like, it's fine. They got thing. It's like, I know there's a whole bunch of people. It was important. Yeah, I'll speak out, but